Bada bing, bada boo.
Aliens just never land in Central Park. They are rarely ever spotted flying above Times Square. It's a thing. It's like extraterrestrial beings just have an aversion to high costs of living and expensive real estate. But you will see a UFO flying over a cattle ranch in the middle of Montana. And the only witness to that is going to be a guy named Dale who takes a quick picture of it on his russet potato that he has now converted into a camera. And to be fair, maybe the aliens, they could be flying over Times Square and we just don't see it. But the concept of it is interesting. Why always in the middle of nowhere? Why do aliens choose to fly the routes that they choose? It's almost like if you want to go see an alien, you have to go to the middle of nowhere, where you least expect it. And for Mateo, the place that he least expects to see something out of the ordinary, out of this world, is the local pizza shop. Mateo is driving to town. It's a town called Nuremberg, and this is in Germany. It's about 2 hours from Munich. He's in the driver's seat. His friend that he dragged along for no reason other than the fact that he did not want to go on a lonely road trip is sitting in the passenger seat. They start driving, and it's towards this highway ramp where there's like a little pizza shop. It's a local pizza shop. Everybody knows this pizzeria. It's not like the most delicious pizza in the world. It's not like the hottest restaurant. It's just been around for a while, and the locals like it. As they're driving past this restaurant, Mateo glances out the side of his window, and in that exact moment, he sees something. And his friend's head in the passenger seat almost hits the dash because Mateo is slamming on the brakes, and his friend is like, what the hell is that? Mateo barely responds. He just says, quote, "Screw Nuremberg. There's something more important right now." He does the quickest U-turn he can physically manage. He pulls right up into the lot of the pizza restaurant. It's honestly a surprise that he puts the car into park because he's just flying out the driver's side door. He walks straight up to a girl with very long dark hair standing in front of the pizzeria. She looks very like skittish. Her eyes are really big and she's staring at him and he's staring at her and she's staring at him. And he says the first thing he asks her is, Are you dead?
What?
She's staring at him and she responds slowly, I don't know. And then she runs away. Mateo jumps back into his car and he's got to follow her because she's not supposed to be here. I mean, she's not supposed to be anywhere. She's supposed to be dead. We would like to thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support the Immigrant Legal Resource Center, a nonprofit focused on immigrant civic engagement, education assistance, and local policy interventions to protect the rights of all immigrants. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team, and we'd also like to thank you guys for your continued support. As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. Disclaimers. There are brief mentions of DV self-exit in today's case, so please watch with caution. Today's case also takes place in Germany, so we had help from our translators to navigate the language barrier as we were researching. We do our absolute best to ensure everything is represented accurately, but do keep in mind that all statements and quotes have been translated and then may even be condensed for brevity. So with that being said, let's get started. Before the dead woman even has a name, they already have a suspect. Everyone in town has pointed the finger at who they think they did it. They're tagging him in Facebook posts about the news. The dead woman found in the car, he's the one that did it. And his name is Rowan. They want Rowan to know that they think it's him before he goes down for it. I knew it before the cops did. Those are a lot of Facebook comments. Which is exactly how Rowan ends up in this all gray room sitting on a small square table. The squareness is really inconvenient for him because he has one officer sitting on the left, one officer on his right. It's very suffocating. I mean, they couldn't get a bigger table. I'm sure the size is likely the intention though. Usually when the local town starts tagging, "This is the killer" in Facebook comment sections, I mean, the police have a picture of who it's going to be, and Rowan does not fit that picture. He's young, like very young, early mid-20s. He looks fit. He's well-groomed. He kind of has this soft energy to him. He kind of looks like an Instagram model. I mean, not that that measures someone's morality. If anything, it probably decreases the morality. But, like, it's just not what detectives are expecting. Especially because he came in here voluntarily. The detectives were looking for him, and he said, "I will come to you." And that is how for the next 4.5 hours, they're sitting in this gray room together on a square table, and the female detectives are sitting on either side of him. And the first question they ask Rowan is, "How are you?" He looks at them. You know what? I feel an absolute emptiness and utter chaos inside. That's a direct quote. For the past 24 hours, Rowan says he was scared to go outside. Everyone in his phone is texting him, sending him social media posts, writing things like, you're a wanted man. They're gonna want your head for this. You're gonna go down for this. So did you do it? Did you kill her? So yeah, I mean, he's seen better days, okay? But why would everyone accuse him of killing the girl that was stabbed 56 times to death in the back of her car? The car was parked on a residential street. It's like one of those tree-lined residential streets. I mean, was the car parked in front of his house? Did he leave fingerprints? Why does everyone think it's Rowan? It's because the woman that was found dead is Sherry Ben Kay, but they call her Sherry, and it's his ex-wife. They met in 2015. It's kind of like one of those meet cute dramas. He's explaining to the officers. It was at a subway station. Rowan is going up the escalator and Sherry is walking down the stairs right next to it. And he says, quote, "It's a very special moment for me. I mean, I saw this girl, beautiful. Her hair was so beautiful." They make eye contact. The rest is history. But now Sherry's parents are adamant that Rowan had something to do with their daughter's death. They just know it. The detectives ask him, "Why do you think that they think you're the one who did it?" It's a really, really long story. This all starts unfolding less than 24 hours ago. 23-year-old Sherry tells her parents that she's going to go see her ex-husband, Rowan, at Rowan's house. But by 10 p.m., she's still not home, and everyone in the family, probably everybody in the town, knows that Sherry and Rowan's relationship, ex-relationship, not good. Not good at all. So whatever they're meeting for could not have gone well if she's still not home. She's also not picking up her phone. Sherry's parents start getting anxious. They're thinking, but it's still Rowan. Like, there's no way that he could do anything. I mean, they jump into their car and they start driving the road that Sherry would have taken to get to Rowan's house. And in the middle of a residential tree-lined street, they stop the car because they're like, isn't that her car? Isn't that not Sherry's Mercedes? They park the car in the middle of the road. They jump out and they start looking in the car. This is not where Rowan lives. It's like on the way to Rowan's house. So it's very weird. Like, it looks like Sherry's car. It has the same tinted windows, but like maybe it's not her car. So they stop, they get out, and the front is empty. It's a E-Class coupe, E300. It's kind of relevant because the back windows are much smaller and they're tinted extra dark. So nobody's in the front, but now they're trying to peer through the back. They're cupping their eyes. They're like sticking their face as close to the window as they can. And they're like, it's Sherry. Sherry's in the back. They see in the back seat, there's a woman with long brown hair. She's laying just like splayed out on the back seat, on her back. She has a jacket covering her, but you can see her hair. You can see that she's just laying there and she's not moving. It's not like she's taking a nap. Sherry's parents start pounding on the window. One of them starts with all their strength, just trying to brute force open the door. It's locked. The car key isn't inside the car, which is weird because if this is Sherry's car and Sherry's inside the car taking a nap or something, would the car not unlock? By this point, it's a small residential street. Neighbors have started coming outside. They're wondering who the hell is screaming. A lot of them are angry until they see Sherry's parents and they're like, oh, okay, we have no right to be angry. Something bad is happening. We gotta help. Some of them are coming up trying to smash the windows with Sherry's parents. Someone tries to break in through the passenger seat. Someone's trying to crawl under the car. Like, someone's calling 911. It's chaos. And then the police arrive. They smash open the car window, unlock the car, and they create this like human barricade as they carry Sherry out of the car and immediately place her on the ground. Neighbors, the quick thinking ones, they're also creating a wall in between the police and Sherry's parents because Sherry is gone. She's drenched in blood. Her entire body is covered in punctures, stab wounds, all around her chest, neck, face. Her face looks like she's just been completely torn apart. It would make more sense had she been mauled by an animal, but it's clearly much more sinister than that. Like, there are clear knife puncture wounds. From neighbors' accounts, Sherry's mom is uncontrollably screaming, trying to fling her own body through the neighbors, through the police so that she can get to Sherry. Other neighbors, new neighbors, they start running out of their house because they see some sort of commotion. And they said that it was a really difficult sight. When they run towards the crowd, you just see some of the neighbors are standing there with a very somber look. One person at the scene says, the paramedic who was on site, the one who had actually attempted resuscitation, struggled for, instance, to place the breathing mask over her mouth because her face was so utterly destroyed by stab wounds that the device simply could not create a proper seal. It was clear that this is no longer a living body. At the scene, Sherry's dad is announcing while his daughter is on the ground, Rowan did this. I just know that he has something to do with this. And now Rowan is sitting inside this police interview room. Why would Sherry's parents think that he's involved? Rowan tells them everything about their relationship, Sherry getting pregnant, her parents, the soap incident, everything in between. And then he tells them, you have to understand, I was with Sherry for 7 years. I went through a phase where I was so desperate for revenge, was driven by vengeance. I was really scared that either she would hurt me, I would hurt myself, or that she would force me to hurt her. After 4.5 hours, everyone in the interrogation room decides it's time for a break. Rowan is not formally under arrest, so he asks to go outside to smoke a cigarette. And as he's lighting up his cigarette, taking his first, quote, I took a deep drag, the female officer walks out, and she's got like a weird look on her face. And she just says, she's alive.
She's alive?
Yeah, like, what do you mean she's alive? He just got grilled for the past 4.5 hours because they thought he killed her. What do you mean she's alive? They confirmed that Sherry was just now found alive, caught on CCTV camera, a dead woman walking. Or at least she was supposed to be dead. Rowan says in a very confused state, like, Sherry's alive, but then another girl is dead. Yes. But then who is the other girl? And why was she found dead in Sherry's car? It seems like a modern book trope. You meet your doppelganger and they slowly come into your life and they decide, I think this is my life now. And they do whatever it takes to slowly drive you crazy, isolate you from your loved ones. And then one day you go missing, you come back, you knock on the door, and a woman who looks just like you opens the door and she claims that she's you. She's married to your husband, your kids call her mom, all your friends think that she is you. But not only that, they like her better than they ever liked you. What the hell is going on, okay? That seems like a new and fresh trope, but it's actually a trope that's been around for hundreds of years because there is terror in the idea of being replaced. I think the fear that identity makes someone unique is not unique at all is a big fear. That your identity and your life can be studied and then someone can rehearse it and then they can just take over your life by pretending to be you as if like it's just a jacket that you can put on. Even the classics love this trope. Dostoevsky wrote Double, where the main character is like this meek government clerk. And he meets a man who looks exactly like him. Same face, same name, same everything, same job. Everyone loves him. Nobody likes the main character, but everybody loves him. So his double doesn't just steal the main character's life, he lives the main character's life better. Sometimes the doppelganger and the main character, like Edgar Allan Poe's William Wilson, the main character is being stalked by a double who shares his name, face, they even have the same birthday. The doppelganger just keeps ruining the main character's life and reputation, sleeping with married women, pretending to be him, conning people. Eventually, he has enough and he stabs the doppelganger, only to find out it's just himself. Sometimes the doppelganger is you. Sometimes the doppelganger is very real. And you have to run for them. And sometimes it's a hostile takeover. Sometimes you see someone who looks just like you and you think, what if I took over their life? Imagine you meet someone who looks identical to you. Nobody would ever be able to tell you apart. But they're an Oscar-winning actress living in a mansion with an infinity pool and a husband who chases her around just to get her affection because he's a dog on a leash for her. Her friends are super supportive. They all have a book club where they read nonfiction books about how to better themselves, but not in the annoying way. In the way that they just want to show up as better friends for one another. All of her bills are on auto pay. She doesn't even need to know how much the electricity bill is every month. She takes spontaneous trips to Tokyo for cherry blossom season. And all you have to do is kill her to take her life. Do you do it? Most people are going to say no. But I think maybe like most people should have a few glasses of wine and think about it at night in a way that's non-judgmental. It's just part of human nature. Some people will be a little bit more honest with themselves of, I might at least think about it. Which is why the new secondary feeling around doppelgangers is, it's a death omen when you meet yours. Because you're not supposed to meet them. It's like a glitch in the universe. When you meet someone who looks just like you, exactly like you, something really bad is going to happen to you. Because one of you has to die. I mean, both of you can't be alive, right? That's the omen. But what are the odds that you run into someone who looks exactly like you? I mean, it's likely very, very low. Even with social media, you have people who look similar, but I've never seen two people where I'm like, no, they could literally take over the other person's life. They're identical in every sense of the word. Their loved ones would never know. So what are the odds that you come across your doppelganger? But then what do you do when someone who looks just like you messages you on Instagram and wants to meet up. A total of 26 messages are sent out to 26 people who could all pass somewhat as doppelgangers. Not really, but kind of. They're all in their early 20s. They've got dark long hair, specific facial features. They're between 5'2", 5'4" in height, brown eyes, dark hair, olive undertone skin. To say they look identical would be a lie. But if you take off your contacts and you take 3 shots of tequila and you sit on a vibration plate on the highest setting while everything is shaky and blurry, and you see a photo lineup of the 24 people, you could potentially mistake a few of them as being each other. They all have similar features, but so do like half of the world. If you actually study their faces, they don't actually look alike, but that's okay because perfection is not what Sherry is looking for. Khadijah is one of the 26 girls who receives a message. A lot of people online have been calling her a beauty blogger, and she certainly is beautiful, and she certainly has a high interest in makeup. She also posts on TikTok and Instagram, but a lot of her friends don't love that title because just the negative connotation, it almost dumbs her down. Khadijah worked at a cafe. She worked at a restaurant. Her best friend that she grew up with says that she was always someone who had a knack for languages. She just learns languages so quickly, so she wanted to become an interpreter, get married, have kids of her own. That was her dream. And then 23-year-old Khadijah gets a message, and it's going to lead to a series of events that is now called the Doppelgänger case in Germany. Sherry K, Sherry, she is not living the life that she's always wanted. I mean, who is? But Sherry isn't someone who likes to just sit there and accept her fate. Is it her fault that her family immigrated to Germany when she was 7 because they were being hunted down and killed for their religion? Obviously not. But Sherry is trying to adapt. Everyone said that during school, Sherry was like the center of attention, and she very much liked male-centered attention. And objectively speaking, she just liked to be around guys. Most of her energy was placed into which guys she could talk to after school. And then even later in life, it was all about guys, okay? And people start stating, this is very inappropriate, but people started stating that she had a very seductive behavior about her. Which, is inappropriate to say the least, but she starts dating this guy named Rowan near the end of high school, and she's at this subway station kissing him when she hears this familiar voice behind her, "Get your hands off my niece." It's her uncle. Which now would be a pertinent time to let you know that Sherry's parents are incredibly strict. They do not want her dating anybody, and she's just making out with this guy named Rowan at a subway station. She is 18, but this is still very young for her family. And Sherry's uncle is pissed. And allegedly, instead of informing Sherry's parents about what he saw, he starts blackmailing Sherry. He's like, "I'm just gonna blackmail you." I don't know what he's getting from Sherry, whether it's money or something else. I have no clue.
How do we know he blackmailing her?
A lot of inner sources close to Sherry were saying she was getting blackmailed by her uncle.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he starts blackmailing her about her relationship. Eventually, Sherry's parents, they find out regardless, and they urge Sherry and Rowan, then you guys just need to get married. If you're gonna date, you're gonna fucking get married. All of this only works out because Rowan is Yazidi. Yazidism is one of the oldest continuously practiced religions in the world. It's an ethno-religious faith. It's like a closed-door religion. So you have to either be born into it, you cannot convert into it, and once you leave it permanently. In 2014, ISIS launched a coordinated attack against Yazidis. The incident has been recognized by the UN as a genocide. Thousands of Yazidis were beheaded, burned alive, killed. More than that they were kidnapped and enslaved and trafficked. Young boys were forced into ISIS training camps. Young girls, some as young as 9 years old, were either trafficked or sold or gifted to ISIS soldiers. So in 2014, a lot of Yazidi believers, they fled to neighboring countries, and Germany ends up being like a huge one for the diaspora. A lot of the Yazidi community had already been steadily growing in Germany, so people are like, we gotta go to Germany. Two important things to note. One, there is a lot of tension between older Yazidi family members in Germany and younger generations of Yazidi in Germany. Because there's a lot of complaint. A lot of these elders, they're like, we fled for our lives because of our religion. These are our traditions. We need to stand by this. We almost lost our lives for what we believe in. And then the younger ones that are born in Germany or have been raised in Germany, they're like, I just want to scroll on TikTok and date people. And a huge problem is in the Yazidi religion, you can only marry another Yazidi. and they have to be in your caste. Yazidi has a caste system. So the top are religious and community leaders. Then you have the priests, and then you have the majority. So 3 castes, and you have to marry someone in your same caste. A lot of people in Germany, the younger Yazidis, they're like, well, I don't even know if I want to marry someone who's also Yazidi because most of the people that I grow up with are not. But Rowan happens to be Yazidi, and so is Sherry. And not only that, they're the same caste. So despite the fact that the 2 families, Rowan's parents and Sherry's parents, do not get along, they actually really, really don't like each other, they end up getting married and they open up a hair salon together. It's mainly Rowan's. He has his own barbershop. Sherry starts doing like facials there, and sometimes she does updos for brides and these like women's hairstyles. But aside from that and a few strange incidents, like Sherry breaking into Rowan's brother's house and then taking a taser to his neck and tasing him in the back of the neck and then immediately apologizing and begging for forgiveness, other than some strange incidents like that, the couple seems normal.
What do you mean? What does that mean? Like that they got into a fight and she just decided to physically assault him and attack him?
She felt like Rowan's brother did not like her.
Okay, and that's her.
So she broke into his house and tased him in the back of the neck with a taser. And then he turned around and she started apologizing profusely.
Fascinating. So you think she tried to attack him thinking that he wouldn't find out, but turned out he saw her?
Perhaps, because she does try to kill him later, but we'll get more into that in a second. Yeah.
Okay.
So from the outside, aside from some of the weird incidents that people have kind of heard about, the couple seems normal enough. And then in 2020, Sherry is barely 20 years old and she gets pregnant, but not with Rowan's baby. He says their entire relationship, he could practically smell the other men on Sherry. Rowan calls Sherry's dad very emotional. He's like, I can't do it anymore. He won't even let Sherry's very domineering dad talk. He's like, let me talk. It's my chance to talk. I'm speaking now. These are direct quotes. I have nothing to lose. I'm going to talk and you will listen. Rowan tells Sherry's dad everything. And at the end, he tells him, I'm not going to do this anymore. I don't want to be with Sherry anymore.
أفجعنا من بوراندي لك من خلاص تماهيكات من شوابتن من واقوتي قبب نك من خلاص بردانة وخلاص.
And then there's just silence. And then on the other end, Sherry's dad tells Rowan, if you abandon my daughter, it will cost 3 human lives. What does that even mean? To this, Rowan just responds, then I would rather die by a bullet from you than die a little every day with your daughter.
Who are the 3 lives? Did he say?
It's gonna work out in a weird way. He never said. Now, maybe Sherry is so done with her life, she decides she doesn't want to live it anymore. Maybe she can take someone else's life, like all of those thriller books. Find someone that looks like her, that's living a better life than her, and then get rid of them and resume their identity. That's the plot of thriller books. But that's not what Sherry wants to do. Sherry has a completely different plan. Instead of taking someone else's fate, she wants someone to take her fate. She wants someone to die for her. And that is how Khadijah, a woman who knows nothing about Sherry, who has nothing to do with Sherry, the only connection between the two of them is that Sherry thinks that they look alike. I will say Khadijah is much more beautiful. But that's why Khadijah is found with her face bashed in with brass knuckles, stabbed in the face, neck, and chest, dead in the back of Sherry's Mercedes. Within days, Sherry is brought in and she's treated as the prime suspect of what the police originally thought was her murder. So she goes from being the presumed victim to the potential suspect. And by this point, a few things have occurred. When a body was found in the back of Sherry's car with dark brown hair, just like Sherry, her face is disfigured from stab wounds, but she's about the same height, the same weight. Everybody assumed it was Sherry. Sherry's parents went onto Facebook to post about her death, her murder, begging locals to help identify who they think that did this to their daughter, even though they think it's Rowan. Sherry's parents are telling the police that if they had to put their money on anybody, it would be Rowan. The whole town is ready to form a mob and go burn down Rowan, the ex-husband's house. Meanwhile, the authorities are quietly doing a DNA test because they still have to make sure that this is Sherry. And there's something curious. The body in the car has a small tattoo on their arm, and Sherry's parents are adamant that she does not have any tattoos. So either Sherry lied about getting a tattoo or something weird is happening. That, and people keep calling into the police dispatch trying to frantically explain that they saw a dead woman. There's a guy who's like, I saw a dead woman at a pizzeria, I swear. So the police decide to bring her the town ghost in, the victim, the suspect, we don't know, okay? All we know is that Sherry is not that hard to find. She's not deep in hiding. She's just like there all the time. And she tells the police, it's the Albanians. And the police are like, what? The Albanians are after me. The Albanian mafia want to kill me. What? Okay, so the first person that Sherry points them to is a man named Shakir. He's the one that did this. He's after Sherry. So the police go after him, and they also arrest Shakir. The investigators, they start putting the pieces together. They quickly arrest Sherry and Shakir, but they still need to figure out who the body in the car is. They cross-reference with missing persons alerts in the neighboring areas, not just this town, but all the surrounding towns, and they identify the body to belong to Khadija. And I'm only saying first names because German privacy laws identify each person as just their first name and last name's first initial. So it's like Sherbin K. Once authorities figure out that the woman in the car is Khadija, they can actually start getting somewhere. They go through Khadijah's phone, they go through Sherry's phone, and they find a series of odd DMs on Instagram. The first one reads, "Hey love, would you like to take part in a music video? You have very good charisma and you will be paid very well. You don't have to do much. I would be happy if you would get in touch. Best wishes." And it's like a random account that has no followers. That account belongs to Sherbin K, Sherry. Just reaching out to Khadija for a job to be part of a music video. Khadija is like, hey, I'd be up for it, but I guess it depends on the genre of music and where it is. It's a well-known artist, and you probably know them too. Okay, what's their name? Maybe I know her. And where would the shoot be located? The shoot would be in Offenburg. You definitely know her, but this would all have to be kept secret until the song is released. They tell Khadija the name of the singer, and it's a pretty big artist named Loon. So Loon has over 1 million fans on Spotify, almost 400,000 followers on TikTok, and Khadija thinks it's a secret project, so I can't tweet about it. But like I could DM Loon and ask Loon directly. And the police find all of this on Khadijah's phone, and she's like, I hope you can give me an answer because I'm very, very unsure. A woman messaged me saying I'm filming a music video, supposedly for you. You know, I don't know, I'm not sure if it's fake or not. I don't want to go there and then something happens.
Ich hoffe, du siehst es und kannst mir eine Antwort geben, weil ich bin sehr, sehr unsicher. Eine Frau hat mich angeschrieben, zwecks einem Videodreh, angeblich von dir. Und jetzt, ich weiß nicht, ich bin mir nicht sicher, ob das fake ist. Nicht, dass ich da hinfahre und dann passiert irgendwas.
Loon responds to her, fake sister, don't go.
Wow.
And she responds, oh, okay, thank you. So Khadija ignores the music video request DM, but then another one comes in from another account. This DM reads, hey, good evening. We are looking for girls to test our new lasers. Would you like to collaborate? We offer permanent hair removal with the world's fastest and most effective laser, 100% pain-free. If you're interested in permanent hair removal, you can contact me at any time. We work with a state-of-the-art medical-grade laser that costs $2,500 per session. So they're saying, if you come to the salon and you get this laser treatment done and you just post about it, it's a free laser treatment. Mm-hmm. The only problem is Khadija lives 100 miles away from the salon because they give her the address to the salon.
What, is it their home salon or?
It's Rowan's barbershop.
Wow.
And it's a 3-hour trip. So the salon manager is like, well, you know, I can pick you up from your house and then drop you off at the salon, do the salon laser for you, and then drop you back off at your house. All the DMs lead straight back to Sherry. August 17th, 2022, Sherry and Shakir get into the car together. They drive and they pick up Khadija, and on the way to the salon, it's getting dark, the sun is setting. In between Khadijah's house and the salon, there's like this very long stretch of woods. It's like a forest. Sherry pulls over, pretending to be lost, and she asks Khadija to get out of the car to read the road sign. And that's when Sherry and Shakir both jump out. Shakir jumps on top of Khadija and starts stabbing her. They put Khadija back into the backseat of the car, drive all the way back into town, park Sherry's car on a residential road between Sherry's parents' house and her ex-husband Rowan's house, and then they leave. Sherry and Shakir leave, but they don't flee. They don't skip town. They just kind of linger around until they're both arrested. Why don't they leave town? What's their plan? Who the hell is Shakir? And what the hell does he have to do with any of this? And why does he partake in this murder? Weeks before Khadija is killed, Sherry is going around being what one can only assume is the world's most insufferable pick-me. She's going to the bars in town, getting drunk, leaning in close to all the guys that she's friends with, acquaintances with, random dudes. Would you kill for me? She keeps asking them. Some of the guys think it's a great way to try and impress her and not go home alone. So they're like, of course I would. I would do anything for you. But they don't mean it. She knows they don't mean it. Other guys are put off. Some of them are straight up looking at Sherry and going, why would someone die for you? She says things like, I can be free forever and stay with you all the time. For most people, most normal, sane people, Sherry's reasoning that she can be free, stay with them all the time, intimate relation, it's not worth killing someone for. Except apparently Shakir. That's what the prosecutors are arguing.
Arguing what?
Shakir meets Sherry a few weeks before the murder. And she's like, would you kill for me?
Oh.
And we can be together. And he just does it.
So that's why they're saying that's his motive.
Yes.
He killed for her.
Yeah. But none of these even make sense. Nobody even has an answer for why Sherry and Shakir killed Khadijah. None of it makes sense. When you're building something from the ground up, starting your dream business, I feel like the to-do list never really gets shorter. It just keeps getting longer. The right platform doesn't just help you keep up. It simplifies everything that you can do so that you can get back to doing what you actually started this for. For millions of businesses, that platform is Shopify. Shopify brings everything under one roof. So they bring in the inventory, payments, analytics, and more, all handled in the same place. A few years ago, my husband, sister-in-law, and I were able to just give back to his grandpa in a really meaningful way thanks to Shopify. He had spent his entire life making sacrifices for the family, and he just wanted to pursue his passion, which is traditional Chinese painting. It had always just been a dream of his to share his artwork with the world, and with Shopify, we were able to make that dream come true. We set up an online store called Grandpa Mingo's Art Studio for a limited time. We were just starting to dip our toes into the business, so without Shopify, we would have had no idea where to start when it comes to launching an online marketplace. And honestly, the biggest thing that I noticed was how much mental space I got back. I stopped dreading the admin side of things and remembered why we even started Grandpa Mingo's Art Studio in the first place. Start your business today with the industry's best business partner, Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/rotten. Go to shopify.com/rotten. That's shopify.com/rotten. And Sherry and Shakir, they're not going to give honest answers. So naturally, people have to come up with their own theories, even the prosecutors, with what they believe happened. The very first theory to come about is the doppelganger theory. Sherry doesn't like her life. She cannot escape her religious parents. And instead of walking away and starting over or just standing up to them, she decides she needs to fake her own death to get away from them. But she can't just disappear because they will never stop looking for her. The only way to get everyone to stop looking for her is if they know for certain she's not coming back. There needs to be a body, and that person needs to look like Sherry, which is why weeks leading up to Khadijah's murder, prosecutors find in Sherry's phone, she's got multiple Instagram accounts. She's DMing everyone that looks similar, even remotely similar to her, asking if they want a free laser treatment as long as they post an exchange on Instagram. Khadijah agrees. Sherry picks her up, has her killed, and places Khadijah's body in her own car on a street that her parents are likely going to go down looking for her. They're going to find her body. They're going to think it's Sherry because Khadijah's face was so violently disfigured, and everyone's just going to assume it's Sherry because, like, who else would it be? And then Sherry would move on. What does Shakir get out of it? Probably intimate relations, love, who knows? The prosecutors are a little constantly wishy-washy about what Shakir gets out of it, but more on that later. The problem with the doppelganger theory, though, and there's a lot. The first one being, Sherry has 4 criminal defense attorneys. 2 of them are court appointed, the other 2 her parents are paying for, and her attorneys argue that everyone is being racist by stating that they too look alike and that Sherry sought out a doppelganger just by the fact that all of them have dark hair and are of Iraqi descent does not make them doppelgangers. So they're saying if they're not doppelgangers, then this whole prosecutor theory of the doppelganger murder falls apart if they're not doppelgangers. And so, like, this becomes a whole thing during the trial where everyone's like, are they doppelgangers or not? And the judges are like, it doesn't matter if they're not doppelgangers because everyone in the room can tell that Khadijah is exponentially more beautiful than Sherry will ever be, which also depicts a level of self-awareness in Sherry herself, right? But they're saying it doesn't matter if they're doppelgangers as long as Sherry believed that they could be.
Yeah, exactly.
The attorneys are arguing, but that means if they're not doppelgangers, Sherry is not faking her own death with Khadijah's body.
That's what an argument.
The prosecutors, though, still have to prove that Sherry has motive for this theory, that she desperately needs to get away from her family, and she thinks that, like, she's crazy enough that she thinks this will work. Sherry is evaluated by a psychiatrist, and she spends 4 days with the psychiatrist. She comes out with no strong diagnosis, no sign of a disorder, not that that would absolve any guilt. However, she's mentally there. She's fit to stand trial. The psychiatrist testifies in court that she does have a tendency towards conflict. She's extremely impulsive, manipulative. She believes manipulation is the best way to get what she wants. And most importantly, a part that the defense latches on to. Right? The defense is like, the prosecutors say this is a doppelganger murder. Let me tell you why it's not. During Sherry's psychiatric evaluation, it is confirmed that her IQ stands at around 86, which they describe as, quote, just shy of a learning disability in Germany. Anything below 85 is indicative of a learning disability in Germany. So the defense are like, she's too dumb. Yeah, exactly. So by this point, okay, just to fill you in, Khadijah is found in Sherry's car. Very quickly, Sherry and Shakir are arrested. And everyone in the news becomes obsessed with this case. Everyone in Germany becomes obsessed with this case. It goes to trial, and it's actually one of the longest criminal trials in recent German history, especially in this area, because there's over 100 witnesses brought in. And the confusing part is, it seems like the prosecutors kind of drift between theories of what they think happened. And everyone's just trying to figure out what the hell happened. And the two defendants, Sherry and Shakir, Sherry's always lying. Anytime she opens her mouth, you can assume she's lying. She does testify, but nobody believes her. Shakir, dead silent. Won't say a single word. So everyone's like, why would you guys do this to a random girl that you don't even know? And the only connection is you were looking for people who looked like you and you think that she looked like you. That's really the only connection.
Right.
Other than all the physical evidence, right?
There's no clear motive
Exactly.
of why they're committing the crime.
And so every motive that the prosecutors bring about, the defense are just trying to poke holes of like, well, she's too dumb. She's too dumb to carry something like this out. So the defense are like, she barely has a brain, okay? That's what the defense is arguing, which the prosecutors, they start arguing back. We never said she was smart. If she was very, very smart, perhaps she would have realized how horrendous this plan is. But nevertheless, the prosecutors argue the motive is there. Forget intelligence for a second. Sherry has motive. Her life is falling apart. She wants to get away. So she wants someone to take her place for her death. She wants to be dead to her family. The prosecutors bring in about 100 witnesses that testify about Sherry and Shakir, and one of the most important witnesses on that list, he went into hiding before the trial because he was terrified of sitting up on the stand. He thought someone was going to kill him to keep him quiet, is the ex-husband, Rowan.
Who is he scared of to kill him?
Because remember, Sherry's dad was like, 3 people are going to...
Oh, the dad. That's right.
So he comes in, he sits on the stand, and he starts testifying about his relationship, his marriage with Sherry, and it's not looking good. Multiple witnesses by this point have already testified that Sherry is known as a gas station groupie. It's like a thing when you live in the suburbs in a lot of places, including Germany, where you have nowhere to hang out. People just like loiter in gas stations, in the parking lots. They come in, rev their engine, they pump gas, and then they park near the gas station. They get a Slurpee and a beer, and then they sit in their driver's seat, rev their engine some more, and then hang out.
So she likes to talk to guys at the gas station.
You can't even
Fascinating.
pay me to stay in a gas station for 2 seconds longer than I actually have to.
Yeah.
All the guys with their loud cars, they like to sit there, and Sherry will show up in her Mercedes, and one German reporter describes them like this, and I don't know what this means. They live in the suburbs, but they like to feel as if they're living in New York City in the Bronx.
Okay.
Like they think they're cool.
Right. Like, okay, yeah. I can see the visual. Okay.
Okay, it's almost as if this Mercedes also changed Sherry. Rowan is testifying like she has an obsession with this car. She loved this lifestyle, beautiful cars, fast driving, easy money. That's a quote. She's, helping move drugs, and it's very important for her, quote, to drive up and down the famous roads in Munich, listening to loud music and attracting attention. It's like the people that drive circles on Rodeo Drive, and you're like, well, I've seen you 20 times. Okay. And he says the beginning of their marriage started out pretty normal. Eventually, Rowan starts noticing this very obvious pattern. Quote, she was always looking for arguments with me. just so she could storm out in anger. She'd be like, fine, I'm done with you. I'm not doing this anymore. Run out the house and be gone for 3 days. And she would block his number. I mean, he can't even ask where she is, who she's with, and he can see right through it. It's not like a real fight. Like, she's doing this so that she can go be a gas station groupie. And she'll go out with a bunch of guys each time. They're reportedly all in like a criminal world. If he tries to talk to her about it, it's just another way for her to start another fight that lasts 3 days so she can go out and loiter at gas stations. And that's how she ends up pregnant with some other man's child at 20, and she ends up terminating the pregnancy. Rowan tells her he's fed up with her, and he tells her, I'm going to talk to your parents. I've already called your dad. She turns around, and this is in their apartment. She hits him on the back of the head. She starts throwing things out of the cabinets. She grabs a bar of soap and is like whacking him with a bar of soap. He flees to the bathroom and, quote, she slams my head onto the mirror. Everything goes black. I start feeling dizzy. So then when he wakes up, he's like, I can't do this anymore. I gotta pack my bags. I'm gonna go stay with my brother. He gets into the car and he starts having an epileptic seizure. The police get called out. There's footage of this. The police getting called out, him having a seizure in the car. And he says that because of this marriage, because of Sherry's violence, he had his jaw dislocated. He lost 30% of his vision in the right eye. These are all documented violent altercations. February 2018, she's convicted of aggravated assault for tasing her brother-in-law in the neck, Rowan's brother. October 2021, she tried to run her husband over with her car. November 2021, she assaulted her husband with a bar of soap and smashed his face into a mirror. There's a protection order prohibiting her from even approaching her ex-husband. By this point, a few weeks leading up to Khadijah's murder, Rowan says the families have facilitated at least 3 peace meetings. So in Yazidi religion, marital disputes are resolved through community mediation. I imagine like this is when the marital disputes become irreconcilable. Okay, side note, divorce and separation are a huge thing in Yazidi culture. Yazidism is a closed religion, so you can only be born Yazidi and you must marry another Yazidi, or else if you marry someone that's not Yazidi, you get excommunicated. Some communities have loosened up the rules a little bit to say that you're no longer excommunicated by your loved ones, but it really depends. It seems as if divorce is not unheard of. It's not encouraged, but more people are open to divorce. However, if after divorce you marry someone that is not Yazidi, that could lead to excommunication. So these peace meetings, it's like when you're about to have a divorce, all the male elders from both families will have meetings and try to talk to the couple to figure out how they can resolve their marital dispute. They have 3 mediation sessions. The first 2, Rowan's like, I'm not going to do this. Okay, your daughter is like practically certified insane. And they just keep telling him how much she loves him, how much he means to her and all this nonsense. And Rowan is still trying to save Sherry's face, but he wants a divorce. And finally, at the 3rd mediation, he's like, I know what I need to say. I just need to tell the truth. He says, if a husband says, your daughter has been cheating on me, then typically the father of the wife will tell the husband, okay, like, you decide what you want to do now. And he's like, I want a divorce. And that's the last time he saw Sherry. She moved out, moved back in with her parents. And that was a huge problem for Sherry. A lot of Sherry's friends were called in to testify by the prosecutors because the prosecutors are like, the doppelganger theory. Remember, she needs to get away from her parents. Her friends are sitting on the stand and a lot of German reporters are like, this is the most insane trial that we've ever covered in our lives. These little gas station groupies are cursing at the defense attorneys, are cursing at the prosecutors.
Oh, you mean all her friends are also gas station groupies?
Yeah, and all of them are sitting, like some German reporter was like, I've never seen someone sit with their legs as wide open, like guys like to pretend like their ding dong is so massive that they can't even
you're saying that some of the guys are sitting with their legs are like reaching as far as they can.
Yeah, in a court setting is just inappropriate. But also I think it's like
interesting.
At that point they're like doing splits.
So these people are out here supporting Sherry.
No, they're just being called in to testify and they just like snap at everyone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. All right.
So Sherry is complaining to her friends. Her friends are testifying like, yeah, I saw her after the divorce and she's complaining that her dad would only let her leave the house for 20 minutes every single day. So she goes from living with Rowan, being able to go out for 3 days at a time, be a gas station groupie.
Yeah.
And what's Rowan going to do about it? Nothing. But now that she's back with her very strict religious parents, after a divorce, they're in full control. They're not letting her out of the house. They're not letting her be a gas station groupie. They're controlling everything that she does, and she's sick of it. One witness said, I saw her in the middle of the road. She was like parked on the side of the road. All of her car doors were open. The trunk was open. So I was like, is she looking for something? I thought maybe her car broke down. So I pulled over and I'm like, do you need help, Sherry? Like, did something happen to your car? And she dramatically pulls something out. And there's a little tracker in her fingers. And she just tells me, my father, that son of a bitch. I guess she found a tracker in her car and her dad is tracking her. So the prosecutors are like, look, she has every reason to want to get away from her family, and she can't. Then the prosecutors bring in Rowan's brother. Yeah, where, you know, the bizarre incident where she uses a taser to get him in the neck. The brother-in-law testifies, she showed up to my house. I didn't even know her really at the time. I didn't even know who she was. She introduced herself to me as a friend of my brother. She was completely distraught. She was crying, claimed that Rowan was stealing and using drugs. And then she suddenly tased me in the back of the neck with a taser.
That's their first time meeting?
Yeah.
What in the world?
And then she ran down the stairs. Then she comes back up the stairs. He doesn't even chase after her because he's like on the ground, tased. She comes back up the stairs and said, I don't know why I did that. I'm so sorry. Please don't tell anybody. And starts profusely apologizing.
And he
said, I naturally went to the hospital and filed a police report. And he says, and then they got married. And then I met her uncles. The entire family is weird. They're weird. They also hated me, the brother. They just hated me. You know, one of Sherry's uncles said about Rowan's brother, we have a plan for him. Whatever that means. Yeah, they just keep saying weird things. And Sherry blames the brother-in-law, stating, he made my life a living hell for Rowan and me. He was the one who persuaded my husband to force me to terminate my pregnancy. So Sherry is claiming that she was pregnant with Rowan's baby. And Rowan was like, that was definitely not my baby, trust me. And Sherry is like, well, your brother was the one that convinced you to convince me to terminate the pregnancy. I mean, both Rowan and his brother are like, that's definitely not true. Okay. Now, Rowan's brother testifies. And then the prosecutors then bring in another guy. His name is Vulcan. He gets up on the stand and he tells the judges, I'm the guy that Sherry paid to kill her brother-in-law, Rowan's brother. And everyone's like, what the hell is happening? He's like, that wasn't the original money-making plan, first of all, okay? So when I met Sherry, originally we were going to go into business together to open up a COVID testing center. Because, like, remember back then, you used to have to go to a testing center. They shove, like, a 3-foot-long Q-tip up your brain, like you're getting lobotomized. And then they wanted to do that. But instead, Sherry starts talking about perhaps before they do that, maybe you could kill someone first. And Vulcan is like, I should start going along with it. And the prosecutors are like, why are you going along with it? And they said, I don't know, she just seemed kind of dumb. And she had money, so he's like, I was going along with that. Sherry offers him $10,000. Kill Rowan's brother. I'll give you 5,000 euros in advance. Sherry thinks that her brother-in-law is the reason that Rowan even wants to get a divorce right now. So, you know, once he's gone, Rowan's going to be obsessed with her again. He's the one that supports this separation, so it must be his problem. The two of them, Vulcan and Sherry, they put together their approximately 7 brain cells. They come up with this masterful plan. The plan is he's going to kidnap Rowan's brother, administer date rape pills to him, change him into swim trunks, throw him into Lake Starnberg so that his death would appear to be a drowning. She tells Vulcan, all I need is photos to prove that you did murder him and you'll get 10,000 euros. 5,000 euros in advance right now. And if successful, quote, this day will be more beautiful than any other day on earth. She also sends him an 18-minute voice message where she's enthusiastically screaming, no mercy! No mercy! Make sure you shove the pills deep in his throat!
They played all that?
Yeah, in the trial. Obviously, the testimony from Vulcan and the corresponding evidence is damning to say the least. But her attorney tries to spin it. Her attorney says, according to my client's own statement, this specific allegation of wrongdoing presents itself in a completely different light. The claim is that a man proactively approached her, not the other way around, and allegedly offered to kill her brother-in-law. That raises a distinct set of questions, entirely independent of whether she genuinely desired the act or took the offer seriously, or whether she might have subsequently withdrawn from the plan. They said a whole lot of nothing, but they're basically trying to be like, maybe she was testing him to see if he would do it. She did give him the 5,000 euros. She did. And Volkan argues in court that he just did it to get some easy money. You know, she has money and she's also a bit stupid. That's a direct quote. He testifies that at the trial. But the interesting thing is, like, the prosecutor's like, thank you so much for testifying. So you're actually arrested for fraud. Because regardless, you took money and did not deliver a service.
You took money and you didn't kill someone?
Yes.
That's a fraud?
Yes. So they arrest him for fraud.
You're kidding me.
They also charge him with tax evasion, which is apparently a very German thing. Like, they take tax evasion more seriously than the Americans.
That's crazy. That's considered a fraud?
Yeah. Maybe he tried to get a lower deal.
What?
Eventually, but he was, and
I can't believe this.
He got sentenced to, he had his own separate trial. The fake hitman had his own little separate trial and he was found guilty and imprisoned for a year.
Because, wait, how is that? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's probably something in their code, like their legislation.
Okay. You think it will happen in America too? I cannot imagine this being fraud though.
We have very specific laws for conspiracy to commit murder. Maybe they don't have like specific laws, so this is the one that fits the best.
But what I'm saying is, let's say he never intended to kill and he still took the money. He's like, I'm just here to scam someone.
That's fraud. I think that's why they charged him with fraud. Because he's not like trying to kill. So he's just a con man.
Okay, this is weird. Okay.
Yeah, it's all very strange. But they get him for fraud and tax evasion because he didn't pay taxes on the 5,000 euros he got in cash. And as if this case can't get even more confusing, the main prosecutor theory is that this is a doppelganger murder. And that's actually what it's known for just when it goes viral on a global scale. But that also kind of has its plot holes because it's an escape where nobody flees. If she got someone to be a doppelganger, killed them so that she could flee.
Right.
She doesn't flee. Sherry is literally arrested driving around leisurely through town. That's how the arresting officer describes her demeanor. If she killed Khadija to take her place as a dead body, would she not skip town and start a new life? She doesn't do that. So then some people argue it's because she was waiting for Rowan to get arrested. She's not trying to die and disappear and start a new life. She wanted the police to arrest Rowan for her murder and then she would leave. She was gone girling him. But that also necessarily doesn't make sense because there's no indication that she was tracking Rowan, tracking the investigation. She was genuinely just hanging out. By the way, she also went back to her gas station groupies after she was dead. And they're like, aren't you supposed to be dead? And she's like, I'm in some shit. Some people are after me. They're trying to frame me. Anyway.
Yeah, this is... Wow.
It just doesn't make any sense. Which then leads to a black magic theory. And this was a theory that was heavily debated in court. Eventually, the court denies it. A lot of the black magic theory comes from humans doing what they do best and kind of just being idiots. So in Sherry's car, when police search it, they find two things. Two small pieces of paper folded together, one into a triangle and then another one into a square and then taped together with scotch tape and then wrapped in foil. When they're unfolded, people discover writing on them that nobody can decipher. And one of them has a picture of Sherry and her ex-husband Rowan taped to the back, but the words, no one can decipher the words. So this theory comes about that Sherry killed Khadija as a human sacrifice so that Rowan would come back to her. That's why she doesn't flee or escape town. She stays. When they ask about this paper, Sherry's like, I've never seen that before ever in my life, which is refuted by the fact that her fingerprints are found inside. Like after you unfold the scotch tape and the foil, it's like inside. Then there were news reports that Sherry had been online searching specifically for a magician. So all of this is coming together until they're able to find out who wrote this undecipherable words on the paper. It's a religious leader in the Yazidi faith. They're called sheikhs. She's looking online for a religious leader, but the way that they translate it is like she's looking online for a magician because the word they use to describe their religious leaders in Yazidi sounds like magician.
Okay.
So they're like, she was looking for a magician, dark magic. So then she finds one and the prosecutors find him. They bring him to court. They're like, tell us about this black magic that you're doing. And they're just basically talismans. So, you know, in religion, when you want to be blessed or you are looking for specific things in your life, religious leaders in certain religions will write talismans for you, you know, on pieces of paper. But the whole questioning gets weird because he's illiterate. So he wrote it, but he can't tell anyone what it means.
There's no meaning. It's just bunch of scribbles.
Yeah, and like the prosecutors don't believe that. So they're like, no, it's black magic. Just tell us it's black magic. And then he's like, no, actually, I'm genuinely illiterate. And they're like, no, we don't believe you. And then they make him try to read it. It was just like a whole thing. And then he was like, it was revealed to me in my dream. So that's why I wrote it.
What is going on?
The judges ultimately rejected the theory of human sacrifice, which means why the hell did Sherry and Shakir kill Khadijah? Maybe instead of focusing on Sherry, the answer lies with Shakir. Because nobody can figure out what he has to do with any of this. Most people believe he is the one that physically carried out the killing and stabbed Khadijah. Medical examiners say that it could have been a man, it could have been a woman based off of the stab wounds, but it's really important. So in Germany, for murder, you get a life sentence, but you're eligible for parole after 15 years. Unless there's special circumstances, and stabbing someone 56 times is a special circumstance, which means that you would be eligible for parole after 25 years. So Sherry and Shakir's attorneys are like, no, she's the one that stabbed her. And then they're like, no, he's the one that stabbed her. And everyone's just trying to figure out. And it's just, I don't really think it matters. Throw both of them in for it. Khadijah's dad says, in court, I faced my daughter's killers. I was only 10 feet apart from them. What do you want to say to Shakir? I want to eat him alive. I want to devour him whole. There are text messages between Shakir and Sherry, and the day before Khadijah is killed, Sherry is messaging Shakir things like, tomorrow is going to be wild. There's going to be a lot to do tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. This is the night before the murder. After killing Khadijah, they both head back to Shakir's place. There's no evidence that either of them are romantically involved afterwards. But they part ways, and both of them are kind of on the run, kind of not on the run. They both stop by the gas station. Shakir goes to the gas station too to hang out with his friends. He's got scratch wounds on his arms. And he even tells a friend, I killed an innocent girl for this whore. They're like, who's the whore? Who's the girl you killed? He doesn't clarify. The brass knuckles are found in Shakir's apartment. His DNA is found on Khadijah. The prosecutors, they just keep going back and forth on what Shakir's motive to help Sherry was. I mean, this is a girl that he's only known for a few weeks. Why would he kill Khadijah for her? So sometimes the prosecutors think that it's sex. Sometimes it's money. There's no evidence that money was transferred, but maybe it could be the promise of money. Shakir is silent the entire trial. He does not testify. He never gives a defense. He never tells them, no, this is what happened. Sherry, on the other hand, she gets up on the stand. And she says, let me tell you the day of the murder. My original plan was to just meet with Shakir, but he requests that I bring a can of gasoline with me. So she does. She meets up with him. He takes her phone, and then he guides her to a strange address. She's the one driving. He tells her to park the car. She does. And then a girl walks up to the car, approaches the car, and just based off the energy, it seems like the girl and Shakir know each other. Girl gets into the seat, Shakir moves to the back, and Sherry's in the driving seat, and Shakir is telling Sherry where to drive. They start driving into the forest, but out of nowhere, Shakir's like, pull over, I need a smoke. She pulls over in the forest. He goes, takes a pee. Everybody gets out so they can smoke a cigarette. Once Sherry's done, she walks back to the car to get in, but then she hears a scream. Hey! She whips around, and she sees Shakir just pummeling the girl Khadijah in the face with brass knuckles. Quote, he had brass knuckles in his hand and was hitting her on the head, right on the right side. I think it was against her eyes and forehead. When I saw that, I was shocked. I fell to my knees. I screamed. I was paralyzed for a moment. I couldn't breathe. I saw him continue hitting her head. So I ran over to them, and with all my strength, I pushed him away from her, and I yelled at him to stop. She was gasping and whimpering. He grabbed my arm, dragged me to the side, and when I looked up at him, I saw his face, his anger, and the way he yelled at me, and I got scared. I thought, now it's my turn. He's gonna come after me. I took a few steps backward, turned around, covered my ears. He grabbed my arm, pulled me towards the car, and threw me inside. And then I turned around, and she's in the driver's side now. She turns around, and Khadijah is in the back somehow, lying there. He dragged her into the car. Shakir gets into the passenger seat, and Sherry says he threatened to kill my family if I didn't stay in the car. He wanted me to keep driving, but because my legs were shaking so bad, he had to hold my knee steady as I pressed on the accelerator. He is screaming at me, drive now. Then they get to the road, and at some point he tells her to pull over on a supermarket, parking lot. He tells her to get out of the car. She gets out the car, and then she hears screaming inside the car, and he's just stabbing Khadijah in the back seat, which the police are like, actually, the evidence shows that Khadijah was stabbed in the forest. But anyways, she says, I was frozen. I fell. I lay on the floor. I covered my ears. I didn't dare look. And then I looked toward the car and I could see the two of them. It was like they were fighting. She was screaming inside the car. Eventually, everything was covered in blood. He walked around the car, threw the knife across the street. He put on a fresh t-shirt, pushed me back into the car, took Rowan's jacket out of my trunk, covered Khadijah with it. He gets in, orders me to keep driving. He had in his hand a new knife. I steered the car back onto the road. He pressed down on my leg again because I didn't have the strength. And then at the end of all of this, she looks at Khadijah's dad in court. I can't get the images of what he did out of my head.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
She spoke with confidence?
Yeah. A lot of people said it was terrifying because she was just emotionless the whole time in a very creepy way. And a lot of people testify about Shakir, and they say that he's actually a harmless guy, which, I mean, I don't know what people's perception of someone can even hold up in court. His ex-girlfriends testify like he's never had any rage or anger towards women. I don't know what any of that means, but something is definitely odd with Shakir. An inmate says that he was given a list of 13 people from Shakir, and he was told that he will get paid per witness that is killed.
Who's paying who?
Shakir is like, here's a list, and he gives it to his cellmate. And he's like, for each person that is killed before the trial, I'll give you money. That's what the inmate claims.
So he wants this inmate to pull some strings to kill some witnesses outside.
Yes. Now, Shakir's attorney is like, that's not true at all. The prison guards, they search the cell and they find a list of witnesses and their addresses with plus or minus signs next to them. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a hit list, but it is there.
What does plus or minus mean?
No one knows. Whether it could be they're going to say something positive or negative about me, or I want them dead or I want them alive. Nobody knows. And just when everyone thinks that this trial is going to wrap up, most people can't even make sense of the theory. I mean, maybe the doppelganger theory is the most relevant, and then they're just kind of dumb that they don't flee. I don't know. That's like the one that most people are going with. Everyone just thinks Sherry is dumb, but this is the theory that she thought. This is the motive that she originally had. Then they bring in, right as they're about to wrap, a man walks in to testify, and his name is Furkan. Some people call him Furfur. He's a local rapper. He says that he has a connection to all of them. He's like, I'm connected to Shakir and to Sherry and to the victim, Khadijah. He knows Shakir through a mutual friend, and he claims that he was dating Khadijah and he went back to Sherry's hotel with her. Let me explain. Furkan is an interesting character. Okay, so he mainly stakes a claim at the local club. He's not a gas station groupie, he's a club groupie, and he is described by people who know him as, quote, Furkan is trying to break into the rap scene. He's a big, flashy guy with a 10-foot-long cloud of perfume trailing behind him. That's pretty much what he's like. He's like, I'm here now. Look at me. So everyone, I gotta be the center of attention. Well, recently, Sherry asked Furkan to go back to her hotel with her. And there was this whole incident. This is what Furkan is testifying. He went back to the hotel with Sherry. She had a hotel room. And she's just like trying to unbuckle his pants, is trying to kiss up on him. And he flat out rejects her. He's like, she was trying to pull down my boxer shorts and I pushed her away and I said, piss off, you slut. Okay? Whether this is true or not, it's up for you to believe. He thinks that maybe she was upset that he was in love with Khadijah.
What?
Yeah. So some people are like, either Sherry was rejected and was upset that he liked Khadijah, so she killed Khadijah. Or some people are like, well, maybe he told her to get rid of Khadijah and then they could be together. And that's why she killed Khadijah. Regardless, the day that the investigators went to go talk to Furkan, he had gotten rid of his phone, which is very suspicious. But they state there is no evidence to link Furkan to this crime. There's no investigation into him being part of anything. But it just leads people to wonder if there's a bigger reason to why Sherry specifically went after Khadijah. Was it because Khadijah was one of the only 26 people that responded and was willing to meet up? And is this a doppelganger murder? Or is this a murder out of jealousy? Like, what is it? And I think that's why this case goes so viral. I mean, I think obviously the whole doppelganger classification of this murder and what it's most commonly called It has all the points that make people wonder what the real motive is, but also it's just everything about Sherry's demeanor in trial for Germans was so odd. She'll come in covering her face every time with like a packet of folders and papers, and then every break that they get, her mom is just like supplying her with snacks every day. She's laughing and giggling with her family. A lot of German reporters believe that she was actually acting quite flirtatious with her 4 attorneys as well. She kept twirling her hair. But ultimately, both of them are found guilty, which again, for Sherry, that means 25 years before she's eligible for parole. And for Shakir, it's 15 years. Khadijah's dad is very upset with Shakir only getting 15 years. He was really distraught. He says, in the courtroom, I saw things I never expected to see, things that cannot be understood with the mind. But did I see the truth? No. Some netizens have taken to point out that Sherry was delusional, thinking Khadijah was a doppelganger because it's so obvious that they look nothing alike and that they don't even compare. But with that is the doppelganger murder. What are your thoughts on this case? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.
Bada bing, bada boo.
6 p.m. in Kotzebue, Alaska. It means absolutely nothing because in Kotzebue, it's always either very bright or always very dark. That's really not a metaphor. This is not something deeper. It's always either sunny all day long until you drive yourself crazy at night because you need to block out any light that's coming in through the window so that you can fall asleep at 11 p.m. Or you get 3 hours of sunlight the entire day and then you just live in perpetual darkness. There is no middle ground like most places. To give you a point of reference, in New York City during the summer, you get about 14 hours of sunlight. During the winter, you get closer to 10 hours of sunlight. But it is pretty standard. Usually during the winter, the sun sets at 5 p.m. During the summer, it's closer to 8 p.m. That's not what happens in Kotzebue. Kotzebue is above the Arctic Circle, which means the winters are almost pitch black all night, all day long.
But it's in the U.S.?
Yeah, in Alaska.
Oh, okay.
It's actually closer to Russia than it is to Anchorage, Alaska. It's very interesting. Now, the area north of the Arctic Circle is probably only about 4% of the Earth's entire surface. And all you really need to know is that if you live above the Arctic Circle, things like daytime, nighttime, it doesn't mean anything. During the wintertime, it feels like Kotzebue has some sort of dread countdown that starts in September. September starts, you wake up, sun rises at noon, 11:57 a.m., noon, when half the workday is already over for most of everybody else. And then the sun sets before you're even out of the office at 3:21 p.m. Barely 3 hours and 24 minutes of actual sun. But that's not even the worst of it. Each day of early December, shave off another 5 to 7 minutes of daylight. In Kotzebue, the shortest day of the year is December 21st. Sun rises just right around 1 p.m. and sets at 2:39 p.m.
Oh.
You get 2 hours and 5 minutes of sunlight, and that's it. And also, this is not 2 hours of high UV, go outside and just get blessed with the vitamin D, just blasting in the summer sun. That's not what it is. The sun does not go more than a few degrees over the horizon, so it feels like a very eerie 2-hour-long golden hour, and then it's just gone. And sometimes it's not even just pitch black. There's a lot of residents, they say that they actually prefer pitch blackness in the winter, but they have these hours that they call blue hours. And everything is like a really haunting, intense, saturated blue. It's not bright, it's not dark, but it's just like everything is a blue tint. During the winter, Alaskans have a term called big dark. It's just like a heavy weight that you feel during the wintertime. Even though there might not be anything inherently wrong, you just feel like everything is wrong. It's likely due to the melatonin production in the body. And serotonin also crashes when there's less light input. So you have surging melatonin, falling serotonin, and Alaska has one of the highest rates of seasonal depression in the entire country. Someone who moved to a town north of the Arctic Circle thought, it's going to be easy. It's going to be easy to acclimate because, quote, I knew it would take some time to acclimate for it, but I thought I prepared. I love the cold. I love the dark. I've always wanted to go somewhere dark and cold because I feel like I would thrive in this climate. I was dead wrong. I did not realize how much humans rely on light and dark cycles. I've tried to become more physically active by going on daily walks and taking all my vitamin D supplements, but my mind is beyond fucked. And then the minute that you adjust, it's time for summer. Starting in May, Kotzebue suddenly never gets dark. The sun rises at 5:53 a.m. and then it sets at midnight.
Damn.
You have nearly 18 hours of sunlight, but that's just the beginning. Eventually, the sun is going to be up for close to 23 hours.
That is crazy to be living
Yes.
in a place like this.
And when that, 23 hours of the 24 hours, that doesn't mean that you have that 1 hour of like pitch darkness. It never really transitions into dark either. So it just always feels like daytime. And that is when a call is made to 911. 6 p.m., May 2018. 911 gets a call in Kotzebue that someone might be dead.
5:30, we're north of the alleyway, 51st Street.
2 officers from the local police department, they drive up to the house in question. They walk up to the front door, and it doesn't really strike them as the type of house where something bad is happening inside. They swing open the front door. It's open. And in the living room, there are 2 small children watching SpongeBob on the TV. It's kind of like a weird feeling. One of the officers gets one of the kids' attention. Did someone call the police? One of the young boys points to the bedroom door. Okay, very strange. The officers start walking closer to the door in question. It's partially open, and when they peer in, there is a man holding a woman's body. This man is coated in blood. His clothes are soaked in blood. His arms, his pants, any part of this man named Anthony that the police can see, there is blood coating Anthony. And the woman that he's holding is this small 25-year-old Inupiaq indigenous woman. She's in a fetal position. There's this .22 caliber rifle laying nearby, and the officers glance around, and they do notice blood splatter on the floor, the dresser, mattress, blankets. There's even a few plastic totes on the ground nearby. That's covered in blood splatter. She's been shot under her chin. Her name is Jennifer Kirk, and she's now dead. The man holding her body, Anthony, he speaks up first. He's her boyfriend. He says he was in the living room watching SpongeBob with the 2 kids when he heard this pop sound go off. It sounded like a firework inside the bedroom. So he runs in. He finds her on the ground bleeding heavily from her head. Quote, "I have no idea what happened." The investigators, they place Jennifer's body into a body bag to transport to the medical examiner's office. That bag is sealed with a tag number 0010959. The investigators, they notice a few things. First they pull out a tape measure. They measure the rifle from the tip of the barrel. So this is where the bullet comes out. It exits the gun at that point. And then the tip of the trigger, not the handle, not the other end of the gun, the trigger. You need to press this for the gun to fire. It is 27 1/8 inches long. And then they measure Jennifer's arm. Jennifer's arm is 26 inches and 3/16 inches long. Her arm is shorter than the trigger to the barrel. Her arm is shorter than the gun, but they believe she self-exited. Then at the morgue, as the medical examiner unseals the body bag, number 0010959, they notice red markings around Jennifer Kirk's neck, and there's clear handprints around her neck. So Jennifer Kirk did not just sustain a fatal gunshot wound, she was strangled before she died. The investigators, they do not ask the next obvious questions. Instead, they close the case within 1 day of investigating, and they state that Jennifer Kirk sadly, tragically self-exited. They don't ask the man Anthony to test his hands or his clothes for gunshot residue. They don't look into his past because he has a past record of abuse and SA. They barely question him. They don't canvass the neighborhood. They don't interview anyone that might know something. They also don't go into the house and turn it upside down, searching every square inch for any sort of evidence. Because after all, it would be kind of weird to search the mayor's house, right? Anthony Richards, the man covered in blood, is the son of Clement Richards Sr., the mayor of the Northwest Arctic Bureau. How could a mayor's son ever turn out to be a killer? And even if they find another body in that house 2 years after Jennifer Kirk, do they really need to do something about it? like to thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support the Manilac Association. They are an indigenously operated nonprofit that provides high quality, culturally relevant health, social, and tribal services in the Northwest Arctic Bureau. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team, and we would also like to thank you guys for your continued support. I will say that there is this huge expose done with ProPublica and Anchorage Daily News with the journalist Kyle Hopkins. It's so informative. They went and they spoke to so many people in town. They did investigative boots on the ground, investigative work, and it's just a great piece of journalism. So please go take a look at that. With that being said, today's case involves mentions of self-exit, DV, gun violence. However, the biggest thing to be aware of, it involves missing and murdered Indigenous peoples. There's going to be especially sensitive conversations about institutional racism, systemic neglect, police negligence, misconduct, prosecutorial failures. So please, if you feel overwhelmed, take a break, and I will see you in the next one. Statements and quotes have been condensed for brevity. Everything researched for this video was found publicly available, and netizen comments, statements, speculations, and accusations are not our own and are only mentioned for comprehensive reporting. So with that being said, nobody has been charged, but I have my opinions. Being a political figure is all about how you deal with a scandal. Almost all the time, it's a scandal that is caused by their own actions, but nevertheless, it is how they bounce back from the scandal. It's not even about the scandal itself. Sometimes it requires you take the shit that is thrown at you for good reason. You deserve shit thrown at you. But then you take it and you throw it back at somebody else. You think I'm bad? Go look at that person. Did you see what they said? Sometimes it's all about ignore the giant elephant in the room. You ignore it so much that everybody else gets used to the elephant being in the room. It's like how you forget how to blink or breathe because you're just always doing it. You're always breathing and blinking without addressing it. So everyone forgets that the elephant is in there. And then once in a while, someone will walk into the press room and go, holy shit, there's an elephant in here. And everyone go, forgot about the fucking elephant. Or sometimes the comeback requires going to jail and serving your time. It feels like most mayors have their scandal at some point in their careers. Are you really a politician if you're not probably in the Epstein files? Former mayor of DC, Marion Barry, thankfully not in the Epstein files. I will say that this is historically one of the biggest mayoral scandals, and this is not me saying that this is like the worst thing a mayor has done. It's just historically known as a massive mayor's scandal. It's the crack scandal. And I will say, for all that Marion Barry and all that he did that was kind of bad, okay, because most and all mayors seem to be bad. There always is some level of corruption. The standard is all mayors are bad. Some just do a little bit more good than bad for their own citizens. It does need to be noted that Marion Barry had some very bad streaks. Marion Barry was the former Washington, D.C. mayor, and he was known as the Chocolate King of the Chocolate City. They called it the Chocolate City. And he did, I will say, like, people love Marion, but he was known for having a lot of hot takes. He offended Polish Americans by calling them a slur. He then stated that he would like to, quote, do something about these Asians coming in, opening businesses, those dirty shops, they ought to go.
And do something about these Asians coming in, open up business, these little dirty shops. And they ought to go. I just say that right now.
Then he offended Filipino Americans by pointing out that there's so many nurses immigrating from the Philippines into the United States to, save lives. And he says, and no offense, but let's grow our own teachers. Let's grow our own nurses so that we don't have to be scrounging around in our community clinics and other kinds of places, having to hire people from somewhere else. So he managed, to piss off a lot of communities, but he loved his own people, and for that, a lot of people just could not fault him. As mayor of DC, he increased the share of government contracts awarded to Black-owned businesses from 5% to 40%. He also required private corporations doing businesses in Washington, D.C. to appoint women and minorities to leadership positions. One tribute about Barry's work says, quote, single-handedly expanded the Black middle class in DC and created a generation of Black millionaires in a time when economic and cultural segregation was rampant. He was also notorious for driving around the city, and if he saw someone on the street, he'd be like, do you have a job? And they would say no, and they'd get a job by the afternoon. He wanted everyone to have a job. Yeah.
Wow.
I would hope that his discriminatory remarks against Asians, Polish people, I hope it was a big learning moment for him, a moment of growth. But regardless, he won re-election countless times. And regardless of these remarks, he just keeps getting elected. And he honestly did change the trajectory of so many families' lives probably with generational impact. Like ultimately, Marion Barry did a lot of good. But then he smoked crack. And this was a huge thing. So for years, federal investigators, they've been trying to get Barry on something. You have to wonder if it's almost like they chose their target and they're just waiting for something to come up so that they could take Marion Barry down. They didn't like that a black Democrat kept winning mayor for Washington, D.C.
When was this?
Oh, this was a long time ago, decades ago. He's since passed.
Okay.
But this is probably one of the biggest mayoral scandals that there ever was. This is like back when mayors did regular crimes of corruption and drugs, and now they do like Epstein crimes. So, they get Mayor Barry's ex-girlfriend to come in, the feds, the FBI, and she's also under pressure. The FBI are being overwhelmingly nice to her, and she agrees to set up a hotel room outfitted with 2 secret cameras, courtesy of the FBI, and just 3 days before Mayor Barry is going to announce that he's going to run for mayor for the 4th term, he walks into the hotel room, and he wants to rekindle this relationship romantically. She denies. Especially because there's just another strange woman sitting in the corner of the room. Her name is Wanda, but her name's not really Wanda because she's an FBI undercover agent. And so she's sitting there and she's like, oh, I'm just a friend of your ex-girlfriend. Do you want to smoke crack? Mayor Barry is like, no. She then asks him again, are you sure you don't want to smoke crack? He's like, no, I don't want to smoke crack. And then she brings it up again and again. And finally, Mayor Barry picks up the crack pipe, inhales twice.
I always did that. That's kidding. I always did it.
And a second later, the door is kicked open. FBI agents, DC police, they arrest Mayor Barry, to which he responds, and this is now the viral quote, goddamn bitch set me up like this. Set me up, ain't that a bitch?
Fucked up a beer with this goddamn bitch setting me up like this. Set me up, ain't that a bitch? Calm down.
Those were his words. And that's why people love Mayor Barry, okay? Like, people love Mayor Barry. And then he looks
But they did set him up.
They literally said it. I mean, I don't even know how this is not entrapment. It's just straight up entrapment at this point.
That's crazy.
She asked so many times, are you sure you don't want to smoke crack?
So why the fucking girlfriend sold out like that?
I think they were scaring her.
I
think they were scaring the shit out of her. Okay. Now, I do want to know, Mayor Barry did a lot of drugs. Like, it is a truth. He's done a lot of drugs, all various sorts of drugs. This was a huge scandal back then because the press is racist. So first of all, the setup itself is disturbing. I think it's entrapment. And then instead of the articles afterwards just saying, oh my gosh, our mayor was caught doing drugs, which would have been the headlines had a white mayor been caught doing cocaine, there is the persistent racism of a black man smoking crack, which, by the way, I just want to note that there is a sentencing ratio of 100-to-1 between crack and powder cocaine, which technically the molecule high is like the same thing, which means if you have 2 sugar packets of crack, you get a mandatory 5-year prison sentence. Meanwhile, you'll probably see an influencer do more than that of cocaine in a Carbone or Nobu bathroom on any given Saturday night. So in order to get a mandatory 5-year sentence for cocaine, you need to have over a pound of cocaine. Perhaps the more cleanly, morally indisputable act is that he tried to rekindle his relationship with his ex in the hotel room while he's married, and his wife did support him through the entire trial. So anyway, he goes to jail for 6 months in federal prison, and once he's released, he runs for mayor again, and he wins.
He's back?
Yeah, he's back.
He's back?
Yeah.
Wow.
He has since passed, but yeah, he was back. This is like a crazy comeback from Mayor. This is, I mean, a lot of political consultants, they study Mayor Barry.
God, a new day. How are you?
Strong men. Coming on. Strong men. Getting stronger.
Wow. So people actually like the fact that he was like, the bitch set me up.
Yeah, they love that he was very real about it. And they also love the fact that he was dealing with addiction. Because I think a lot of people could relate to it. And again, it's like, wouldn't you rather your mayor be doing drugs than committing crimes against women and children? Because nowadays it seems like every other mayor is at risk of being found in the files or being accused of SA. But even that would be more easily navigated than a situation that Mayor Clement Richards Sr. finds himself in. Monday morning, police are called to the mayor's house. You know how this goes. You've heard it before. A woman, Inua Pag, found in the house, dead, strangulation marks. Boyfriend is the mayor's son. You already know this story from May of 2018 when the sun had no intention of setting. It's hot outside. The sun is up. Jennifer Kirk is found dead at the foot of the bed. But this is not that Monday morning. This is March 9th, 2020. It's 8:32 a.m. The sun hasn't even gotten up. It won't rise until 9:30 a.m. The temperature is 13 degrees below zero. And the police find another body. 30 years old, Inua Pag, beaten, strangulation marks around her neck, and her name is Susanna Norton, but everybody calls her Susu. She shares the same birthday as Jennifer Kirk, August 21st, and both of them are found dead in the mayor's house.
And in the beginning, who are those two kids watching TV?
It's the son's kids with Jennifer Kirk.
Oh, that's Jennifer Kirk's kids?
Mm-hmm.
How old are they?
They're described to be juveniles.
Oh.
The term op book is not like a new term. It's been around for a while. It's a research book for the opponent, the opposition in a political race. So what you do when you're trying to run for mayor or any elected office where there is a lot of money funneled into the campaigns, you hire 2 to 3 specialists. They're called researchers, and you pay them anywhere between $20,000 to $80,000 to do a full workup of the inside and outside of your opposition. The researchers will go and dig through archived old news reports, voting records, campaign finance filings, social media posts. An op book researcher says, I was hired because they saw the opposition as a threat. My job was to try and kill him. I mean, not literally, but you get what I'm saying, right? Let's say you do find some dirt on the opposition. What do they do then? Well, they study it for the debates, but there's been this long-standing tradition, it seems, that the researchers will share that material with a journalist on the condition of no fingerprints. The journalist gets to break a story with inside sources. The campaign recycles the published story into attack ads, debate talking points, and while the candidate acts like, I found out through the news just like everybody else, and they act just as outraged as all the other citizens, you can sometimes tell by the release timing if this is from an op book. In mayoral races, if one candidate consistently has bad information coming out on the day of press releases or big gatherings and rallies, it could just be very well released from the other party, which is why it's important. Usually big campaigns, if they only have the budget to do one op book, they do a self-op.
Oh.
Researchers, make an op book on you, the candidate, because you know the other party's going to do it. You need good counterpoints. You need to make sure that you're not taken off guard. I mean, it takes a lot to run for mayor, or really any elected office beyond that, and that's why people like to play dirty. Some wealthy candidates have also been known to hire every political consultant in the market, not to use all of their services at once, but to prevent the opponents from accessing them. It's kind of like when wealthy people, they get a divorce and they put all the best family attorneys in the city on a retainer so that their partner can't use them. It's kind of like that. It takes a lot to win the race to be mayor, but it really depends what you get out of it, depending on the mayor system. So some cities have what's called a strong mayor system. New York, Chicago, Houston. Mayor gets to appoint the heads of departments. They help draft and propose budgets. They have a lot of executive power. Then you have a weak mayor system where you're pretty much just like chairing the council meetings and cutting ribbons. Like you don't really have any independent executive authority. You're just there.
So there's more money in the strong one. Is that what you mean?
And it's very strange. So there are some major cities where the mayor only gets paid like $100,000. And then there will be a city in Florida with 1,000 residents and the mayor is getting paid $250,000. Now, the Northwest Arctic Bureau in Alaska, that's a strong mayor system. The charter for it explicitly states the executive power in the borough is vested in the mayor. The borough mayor, as the chief administrative officer, is responsible for all proper administration of all bureau affairs. That gives Mayor Clement Richards a whole lot of power. A lot of power. Enough power that he is going to be in charge of a $60 million construction contract. And there's going to be allegations that he's blackmailed into this contract because there is a video of him that exists with an underage girl.
Is that a rumor?
It's a rumor. Now, 1 month after Mayor Clement is elected into office, a police officer knocks on his door I mean, technically, this is a very uncomfortable situation for the police officer to be in, but he's got a job to do. The officer was called by Jennifer Kirk, a 22-year-old. So this is when she's 22. She passes away at 25. She reports that she was punched in the face by someone who lives in this very house, the mayor's son. So the report reads from the perspective of the officer. I asked Jennifer how Anthony assaulted her, and she stated that they were having intercourse, and he tried to have anal intercourse, and when she told him no, Jennifer then stated that Anthony punched her in the back 3 times, causing pain, and punched her in the right eye twice, causing pain, swelling, and a bloodshot eye. Jennifer said Anthony also grabbed her right arm, leaving bruises just above her wrist. Obviously, the officer has to investigate. He walks up to the mayor's front door and he knocks. And he knocks again. And then Mayor Clement, he opens the door and he smells drunk. Or at least according to the report, quote, appeared extremely intoxicated. And then the mayor just aggressively starts asking, how can I help you? How can I help you? How can I help you? Doesn't give the officer a chance to respond. He asks, how can I help you 3 times and then slams the door shut. It's like very odd behavior. This is 1 month after he becomes mayor. What is the officer supposed to do? Knock again? He doesn't. Instead, he just moves on. And so does everybody else. Until 3 years later, Jennifer Kirk is found dead inside that house. And there are clear markings of strangulation. She was shot with a gun that is longer than her entire arm. And it's ruled a self-exit. And the police and the mayor, they move on to the next big case.
Wow.
So instead of answering questions about what happened in his own house, what his son could have been involved in, the mayor is out there on a podium involved in another case, answering questions about Ashley Johnson Barr. Ashley Johnson Barr is the girl in purple. There's a lot that you have to know about the whole area of Kotzebue. It's closer to Russia, like I said, than Anchorage. It's a very isolated area. It's part of this like frying pan-shaped peninsula in Alaska. And it's actually believed to be one of the oldest continuously inhabited settlements in the Americas. The land should belong to the Inupiat people, and they do comprise of roughly 75% of the population. But of course, it's stolen land. But a lot more on this later. It's a very small population where, yes, the trope, everybody knows everybody. And it's true. It's also true that September 6, 2018, everybody knows that 10-year-old Ashley Johnson Barr does not come home. And everybody knows Ashley Johnson Barr. People say she's the kid that just seemed to be everywhere. Like she could teleport. She'll be picking blueberries with her family and then showing up to 5 different church services and Bible studies every single week. If there's a body of water, she's probably trying to change into a swimsuit and swim in it, even if it's a puddle. But that Thursday evening, she goes to hang out at the playground in the town center. And this is not like other parts of the US where kids are not out by themselves. She's got a phone. She's at the town center. This is very normal for kids in this area.
This happened after Jennifer's body was found? Or
3 months after Jennifer's body is found. And this case, Ashley Johnson Barr's case, does make national news. And because the mayor is the mayor of the town that this is occurring in, he almost becomes like this spokesperson for this case. And yet nobody's asking him about the fact that 3 months ago, a woman was found dead on his property. Yeah. And his own son was covered in her own blood.
Yeah, how does that make sense? Why is nobody...
Exactly.
Is it just like he has so much power that it's been silenced from the town?
And again, this is a town where, like I said, it's that trope, everybody knows everybody, and Ashley goes missing. And for 8 days, all hell breaks loose. Boats, helicopters, K9 units are flown into the town to help. The Coast Guard gets involved. At any given time, there were as many as 50 people searching for Ashley. September 14th, 2018, a volunteer spots Ashley's body in the tundra a few miles outside of town. She had been essayed and strangled to death at 10 years old. So very quickly, a 41-year-old man, Peter Vance Wilson, gets arrested. I mean, the first sign that something was wrong with Peter was a relative of Peter's was going to, everyone in town is looking for Ashley. And he's going through Peter's coat. I don't know if he was hanging the coat up or if it was just like sprawled out on the couch, so he's picking it up. And he notices something heavy in the pocket. He reaches in and it's Ashley's phone. Okay. Now, DNA testing also showed that he was the one that kidnapped Ashley, essayed her, and then strangled her with her own pants. He also eventually confessed. But the infuriating part about all of this is that all these people start coming forward and they keep saying, we knew that Peter had problems and we tried to tell everybody that Peter had problems. 2 female relatives stated that Peter had repeatedly, throughout their entire childhoods, essayed them and he never got in trouble. He started essaying his relatives when he was 12 years old. Family members describe as many as 40 different accounts of SA from Peter. And they tried to tell people, and nobody was listening to anybody.
Like the police isn't doing anything?
Yeah, nobody's doing anything. They just, Ashley's father even states, quote, some ladies and young girls sure did try and go and speak up. Guess what happened? Nothing happened. People told them they never did this to you. You're just making up stories. But Ashley's case is monumental for a number of reasons. I mean, I could do a whole episode on this, but people realized how much resources they could actually mobilize. I mean, the way that people came together to find Ashley, how the entire state of Alaska seemed to come together, that means the resources are there. So if the case is there, this should be the reception for every missing and murdered Indigenous person. Not just like once in a while, but every single time. Secondly, there was this sentiment in Alaska that a culture of silence is not going to be tolerated anymore. If someone had taken accusations against Peter seriously, Ashley would still be alive. Many of Peter's relatives would have been safer. Ashley's dad states, our daughter started something. No more silence. I mean, there's just so much more to the case, but I mean, her parents are doing a lot of good for women and children in Alaska. However, one of the most vocal people during the entirety of this case is this one man who just kind of inserts himself into all of this, Mayor Clement Richards. He's all over the news stations when the searches for Ashley is taking place. And it's infuriating because, everything that Ashley's legacy symbolizes, the mayor is exploiting, because if anyone profits from a culture of silence, it's clearly Mayor Clement Richards Sr. Because just 3 months before he makes himself the spokesperson for Ashley's passing, Jennifer Kirk was found dead in his house and he's just sweeping it under the rug. Some people just really make it easy for the police to do their job. Some cases just are very easy to solve. Or at least that's what it feels like. You get a checklist. Hey, these are the 5 things you need to do. Find the evidence. Check off the box. We're going to trial. You're getting a conviction. Jennifer Kirk's case feels like that. It feels so easy. Either the truth is, it's in the evidence that she did self-exit like the police claim that she did, or naturally, there's something else to look into, like the mayor's son, Anthony. I mean, how much more literal with the red flags do we have to get? The police department, in their own report, quote, I noted the rifle from the tip of the barrel to the tip of the trigger as being 27 and 1/18 inches long. Jennifer's arm, they note in the report, is shorter than that. When the police first bring in Anthony into the police station right after finding Jennifer Kirk's body, they interview him. They don't arrest him. They don't interrogate him. They just ask him questions. And they listen to Anthony's side of events, which go like this. I was watching TV with the kids. I heard a pop. And then I saw Jennifer, I had seen Jennifer go into the bedroom. So I freaked out. I go into the bedroom. I see her. I go to the neighbor's house and I told them to call 911. He states that Jennifer was still breathing when he found her, and, they've been in this very long relationship. They have kids together who are in the living room, and she just self-exits. He explains it's kind of a long story, and they're like, well, tell us. So she has this court date in her hometown, which is a few towns over, for DUI. She's supposed to turn herself in, but she was scared to go. But I keep telling her, you gotta just get it over with. You gotta go and turn yourself in. I kept telling her that she needed to. And then she starts getting emotional, crying, and accusing Anthony of not wanting to be with her anymore. And Anthony tells the officer, essentially, I told her not to cry in front of the kids, and I told her to go lay down in the room and calm down. He stays out in the living room watching SpongeBob with the kids, and it's an hour in when he hears that firecracker go off. So he rushes into the room, he finds that she shot herself, and he explains, this is very Jennifer. She's really good at hiding her emotions until it's like an explosion. Why did you go to your neighbor's house to call 911? Well, I couldn't find my phone, so I ran next door. Which, side note, the mayor's house is about a block away from the police department, so continuing on. He gets back from telling the neighbor to call the police. He goes back to Jennifer's body and he holds her. That's how it's described. It's described that he does not attempt CPR. He doesn't try to stop the bleeding. He's just coating himself in her blood, holding her. After what can only be described as a very suspicious story, the police are like, well, you're free to go. We're not arresting you. Right when he leaves, the investigators get a call from the ME's office, and they advise the police that not only does Jennifer's body have a fatal bullet wound, but there are signs of strangulation on her neck, handprints. She was strangled before she died. And this police department is not big at all, which, by the way, that's another thing that I have a personal gripe about this. Okay, so we tried to FOIA request this case a long time ago, and a team member on the RM team kept trying to get in touch with the police department. And we do FOIA requests all around different states and different towns, different cities, different police departments. And some police departments, each one operates differently. And each one feels like a whole new learning process of like how to get a FOIA request. This is a small, tiny little police department, and it took suspiciously long to get a response from them. Like in a way that it didn't make any sense, in my opinion. All I'm saying is most of us would not hire a magician to do our taxes. It just doesn't make sense. When something important is on the line, like your livelihood, a loved one, or a traumatic accident, hiring the wrong person can be disastrous. That is where Morgan & Morgan comes in. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. They have over 100 offices nationwide and more than 1,000 lawyers. With over $30 billion recovered for over 500,000 clients, Morgan & Morgan has a proven track record of fighting to get you full and fair compensation. It's built on the value that everyday people like you and me, they deserve powerful legal representation for accidents when they're harmed by negligence. You know, there's a reason why Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. For the people, not the powerful. If you've been hurt due to the negligence of someone else, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win. Just click the link in the description below or visit forthepeople.com/rotten. That's forthepeople.com/rotten, or dial pound LAW 529 from your phone. This is a paid advertisement. So this entire tiny little police department, they probably know everybody, and they know that a month after Clement is elected into office, so a few years ago, an officer got called out to the mayor's house by Jennifer Kirk because she reported that Anthony had assaulted her. And now she's dead a few years later. All they have to do is a little bit of due diligence. And if you're already pulling up his profile, you can also clearly see that September 2017, Jennifer called 911 again. She's actually still at the mayor's house. She waits for the officers to arrive. She's standing out in the driveway. She's crying. And she tells the responding officer, Anthony just choked her. He strangled her. And she's explaining like she had gotten into town. She wanted to see Anthony. So right from the airport, she goes to the mayor's house. Both of them start drinking, and Jennifer just wants to go back to her hotel. And she even offers Anthony, do you want to come back to my hotel with me? But Anthony does not want her to go back to her hotel. In fact, he doesn't even want her to go, and the fact that she even offered for both of them to go is seemingly so offensive and such a heinous thing for Jennifer to do that Anthony starts verbally screaming at her. And then he slams her down onto the bedroom floor, sits on top of Jennifer, putting his entire body weight on top of her. So he's not only preventing her from getting up, he's full on suffocating her. Jennifer states that she just kept trying to struggle with Anthony to get up, and he only does because she starts pinching him really, really hard. He gets up, and I assume it felt like they were both cooling down because Jennifer sits on the bed, and then she calmly tells him once more that she wants to go back to the hotel. This time, he climbs up onto the bed, pushes her down, and he grabs her neck with both of his hands and starts strangling her. Her vision starts narrowing. She tells the police that she couldn't breathe. She's terrified of passing out. And the report reads, Jennifer eventually was able to get away from Anthony, and during this struggle to do so, she sustained a visible laceration from the top right side of her head. The officers go to investigate, and guess what? Anthony is on probation. He's drunk when they go to talk to him. He's drunk. He's violating state law by violently abusing Jennifer. So he's arrested for breaking probation. And with this, I feel like the police have a pretty, at face value, a suspicious story of death. They've got strangulation marks on the deceased, a history of violence and strangulation documented by various criminal charges. And the police officers, they were even trained. Top 10 red flags for domestic violence killings, and pretty much every single one of them checks off. The red flags consist of victim dies prematurely. Jennifer Kirk is 25. Self-exit or accident scene. One partner wanted to end the relationship. Prior history of DV. Victim found dead in a home or a residence. Victim found by current or previous partner. Prior history of DV includes strangulation or suffocation. Partner is the last to see victim alive. Partner has control of the crime scene, and body is moved or scene or evidence is altered in some way. Yeah, so they bring Anthony back in. And they're like, hey, we found strangulation marks on Jennifer Kirk's body. You didn't mention any of that. Do you care to tell us what happened? And he explains that, well, he just blocked out that part because it's just like been a bad day. And he said it was all in self-defense. He said that Jennifer started punching, slapping him on the side of his head. So in order to stop her, he does what any normal human does. He holds her back by her neck with both of his hands. It's like the most reasonable defensive stance. Of course, everybody's done it before. And Anthony says while he's doing this, she's still trying to slap him. Now, when the police are like, well, how much pressure did you apply? He doesn't recall. Did she fall unconscious or not? He doesn't remember. He doesn't remember if he knocked her unconscious or not. And all of this is happening in the kitchen. This is what he says, which is also kind of crazy because he made this whole thing about like, I don't want her to cry in front of the kids. But you're strangling her in front of the kids? So after she might have been maybe not knocked out, Anthony can't remember. And when she does become conscious, she goes to the bedroom, and that's when she dies by herself. And with that, the police are given a pretty easy pathway to get to the bottom of what happened to Jennifer Kirk. And the entire town gets wrapped up in this hunt for the police department to find the strangler. Authorities are asking for the public's help. Help us find out who did this. Here are the clues that we have. They're putting out like pictures. One investigator states the police department suspects foul play and is pursuing all investigative leads. And they start putting up photos of the suspect in question. Tipsters are calling in. Volunteers are raising thousands of dollars. I mean, this news is all over the area. The strangler needs to be brought in, and there needs to be justice. And they do catch him. They catch the strangler. They drag him to court. But it's not for Jennifer's death. It's not for the death of Jennifer Kirk. All of this police investigative efforts is for a husky. So around the same time that Jennifer Kirk is found dead, the city fire department's pet husky is also found dead. They close Jennifer's case, and they do like a city-wide hunt for the strangler.
For the husky.
Yes, and like, don't get me wrong. I think that person needs to be punished for sure, but nothing for Jennifer.
You think it's like a cover-up? It's like a...
It seems like priorities. They don't care for Jennifer Kirk. In fact,
you think they don't care or they're hiding something, right? Like they don't care is like, okay, I'm not going to do more investigation. Hiding is someone is covering up for someone.
I don't know if they're that smart.
Really?
Yeah. Everyone in town thought it was weird.
Everyone in town thought
Jennifer Kirk's death is weird.
Correct.
They don't care to make statements and make it make sense. They don't care to address it. It's just like, well, what are you going to do about it? That's the feeling that I get. It's so blatant. It doesn't feel like a cover up of like, ooh, a diversion. Don't pay attention to this. Pay attention to this. It doesn't feel like that.
So why is there no investigation
because the mayor controls the police department. This is a really small town.
Yeah.
And they don't care to investigate.
So even the police who made the report rolled the gun is longer than the arm. That means he also suspected some kind of foul play.
Yeah, but he doesn't care.
Or he was told not to look.
And he doesn't care enough to go against the status quo. Or alleged, right? That's our personal opinion of just the limited information that we have, right? In terms of the husky and the search for the strangler, I don't think it's some sort of, ooh, diversion, don't let the community members. It doesn't seem like that. It seems like the community knows and the mayor's like, what are you going to do about it?
Okay.
That's the feeling.
But Jennifer's case.
Yes.
Someone said, do not continue.
It's unclear if someone said do not continue or the lead investigator got bonked on the head with a coconut and decided to close the case. You know, we don't know what happened behind closed doors. Legally speaking, that would be bad to say.
Okay.
You can come to your own personal conclusions about that. But all we know is that within one investigative day, the case is closed and it's deemed a self-exit. Whether the mayor said, shut it down, whether the investigative lead said, wow, I did my due diligence of fucking 8 hours and I think that this is a self-exit, it's hard to say, right?
What about Jennifer's families?
They think something is weird. They just want more investigations. They absolutely do not believe that she would self-exit. She was just on the phone with her mom. They were preparing for like future plan. There was nothing to indicate that she is someone that would want to self-exit. And then with all the history of domestic violence, from Anthony. Like, it just, to them, it makes zero sense. Now, with the ProPublica piece, the expose, the police are going to come back and say something about Jennifer's death, and I'm going to get into it, and it's so infuriating, but it just feels like, to some people, because of the lack of investigation into Jennifer Kirk's death, another person is going to end up dead. Because 2 years after Jennifer Kirk dies, Susu Norton dies. And the mayor's son is going to be in the court once more answering questions about Susu's death. But this time, it's not Anthony. It's a different mayor's son, Amos. Okay, so Mayor Clement Richards Sr. has 3 sons. And all 3 of them have been charged with assaulting women on the mayor's property.
They all live together?
Yes, and it's not just one that's violently abusive. All 3 of them. There are at least 31 criminal cases involving the 3 sons and a total of 6 different victims. All 3 sons have been charged with a combined 16 counts of domestic violence. None of these charges resulted in felony domestic violence convictions. And when you start putting these timelines together, it's actually so disgusting. You want to lock the whole family up in a basement cell and feed them copious amounts of Advil on an empty stomach. It's just heinous, okay? A few months after Jennifer Kirk is found dead, a woman walks into the police station with a right eye that is black and blue. It's swollen shut. She can't even open her eye. She's crying. And she reports that her boyfriend, Amos, the eldest of the mayor's 3 sons, has been abusing her. This is a few months after Jennifer Kirk is found dead on the mayor's property. So the police are like, well, we just found a dead woman on the mayor's property. And now another woman is walking in. She's got clear evidence of abuse. And she's saying that a different mayor's son, the same mayor but a different son, is beating her. And she's got strangulation marks on her neck, just like Jennifer Kirk had. This is Susu Norton, who will soon be killed. She says that her boyfriend, Amos, he's a bit of a drinker. She wanted him to stop drinking, so she poured out his beer. He becomes so enraged, he grabs her by the hair, drags her around the entire house, kicks her repeatedly in the head, stomach, face, back. Her forearms are swollen from trying to protect her head and face while he's kicking her, and she's 6 months pregnant with his child. The incident report states, officer was unable to locate the defendant. That's pretty much it. Within 2 years, Susu Norton, just like Jennifer Kirk, will be found dead. They don't do anything. I mean, what do you expect from the sons whose own father, Mayor Clement Richards Sr., has a felony domestic violence charge?
Is he still out? Is he still the mayor? Is he still out and about? What's going on?
He tried to run for re-election. He did not get re-elected in 2018. And then in 2022, Susu Norton's body is found in the mayor's house. And he's still out there. Kyle from ProPublica tried to go talk to him. And he's like, no comment. He won't make any comments. Nothing.
This is so bizarre. What is going on?
Now, this happens when the mom, Annette, so this is Clement Richards. This is like the ex-first lady of the town, I guess, right? But Annette is pregnant with their 3rd son, Anthony. So they have 3 sons. Anthony is, Jennifer Kirk's ex-boyfriend. She's pregnant. And by this point, they already have 2 sons. She's 8 months pregnant, and Clement Richards, in a fit of anger, beats her, kicks her in the stomach repeatedly until she starts profusely bleeding from her private areas. The police are called to the house. Clement and his wife Annette are just sitting in the living room. She's bleeding. And the officer concludes that Clement had been dragging Annette around by her hair, kicked her in the stomach with boots on, and then punched her in several other parts of her body. The very next day, Anthony is born. Clement Sr. pleads no contest to felony domestic violence assault and goes to jail for 6 months. Here's the mind-boggling part. Remember the whole op book that political candidates get on their opposition? Former Mayor Clement Richards has a domestic violence charge, this charge that is publicly available to see. It's a matter of public record before he's elected to become mayor. Meaning when he runs for mayor, none of his opponents, nobody in the area, nobody in the media mentions or brings up the fact that he nearly killed his wife and child. Nobody.
Because they don't do their homework?
Either they don't do their homework, or it's like what a lot of people are saying, enough is enough, this culture of silence is over with.
I see.
He becomes vice mayor, mayor, he's on the city council, he held political office from 1999 to 2018. I feel like that's longer than some of you guys have been alive.
Wow.
With this charge. And his wife, Annette, she starts working for the Alaskan state troopers, working with prosecutors in the local area that later become judges. These judges then later oversee her son's domestic violence cases. Which, side note, when Clement Richards was mayor, there was this huge scandal. So aside from Jennifer Kirk dying inside of his house, while he holds public office, there's this huge construction bid. It's a construction project, $60 million. He's the mayor in a mayor-strong system, and he gets to have, like, he's aggressively pushing for this no-bid contract to be awarded to a local company called Remote Solutions. They're going to get a $60 million contract to construct the school, the highway. Like, this is what they need. The school district still has to vote on it. So does the borough assembly. But he's like going to each person and he's like, you got to vote yes. It's got to go to Remote Solutions. Mayor Clement is using all of his power to swing the votes in his favor. They've got 3 special bureau assembly meetings. These were a huge scandal too. So one of them is like randomly held in Seattle. So they have to fly everybody out to Seattle and they spend like over $100,000 of taxpayer money. It's like, why do you have to have it in Seattle? It just seemed like a vacation. But then out of nowhere, allegedly, Clement Richards is like, wait, never mind. I take it all back. I don't want Remote Solutions to be the bid for this contract. Out of nowhere. All of this feels kind of par for the course, like some political corruption going to Seattle, but it doesn't feel that bad, right? But like, why did he suddenly change his mind? Well, Clement Richards fires his chief of staff for the borough, Eugene. And Eugene files a complaint to the police department. And he states that he was fired because he knew information that the mayor does not want to get out. Apparently, this is what he alleges. The mayor was drunk, driving a borough vehicle, this is like a city car, with a young underage girl in the car. He almost hits another car on the road. And that other driver that almost got hit, his name is Chris, he starts allegedly recording this incident on his phone that depicts the mayor driving drunk in a borough vehicle with a girl that appears to be underage. Chris then goes and shows it to a bunch of people who then notifies Eugene, the chief of staff. So Eugene is like, oh my God, there's this video. He says, quote, I told our mayor that he needs to go talk to Chris about the situation. Clement notified me that Chris agreed to delete the video and told Clement not to do it again. Now, he notices, Eugene is like noticing all these borough meetings and Clement is like, oh, we got to do Remote Solutions. This is the bid for the construction work, right? Oh. And then suddenly he's like, no, it's not. We're not doing Remote Solutions anymore. Okay. And so Eugene is like, what the hell? And then Clement is like visibly upset. And so Eugene is like, what's wrong? Why are you upset? Eugene says, this is his claim, that Clement was told that Chris did not delete the video. And now the other parties who want this contract are telling Clement, get rid of the Baker brothers. The Baker brothers own Remote Solutions.
Who's Baker brothers?
They own Remote Solutions.
Oh, okay.
Get rid of the Baker brothers or this video goes out. So all of a sudden he said, I don't want Remote Solutions anymore.
So basically he has like a little underground deal with Baker's brother.
That's a big allegation, but you know.
I mean, he really is trying to get Baker's brother this deal for whatever. And then a competitor got their hands on Chris's video. Yes. Now they're kind of telling him we want the contract.
Kill the contract, kill the deal, because we want it. Right. Now there's scandal about
so why is Eugene getting fired for that then?
So then Eugene is like, that's messed up. He's like telling Clement Richards, no, like that's messed up. You got to do something about it. Like you cannot let this affect how you mayor this town. Then he gets fired. So then he's like, okay, well, I'm going to file a report because you wrongfully terminated me for like having a morally upstanding take.
Okay.
So, but I will say the other side of it, I went into too many rabbit holes. Okay. But the other side of it, this is an allegation, but the other company, one of them shares a child with someone on the school board. So everybody's just trying to get the company that they get a kickback from. And I don't know if kickback should be used in like the very strict definition of contractually you get this much, but just you get some sort of indirect benefits. The driver was contacted by journalists and they state that there is no video. There's no involvement, but the whole thing was just a massive scandal, just huge. It was an even bigger scandal than what's going on inside that house. The mayor's 3 sons, Amos, he has multiple charges against him. He's the eldest for victimizing and abusing his girlfriend and the mother of his children, Susu Norton, while she's pregnant. He's violently assaulting her, just like his dad violently assaulted his mom while she was pregnant. Susu Norton's death is being investigated right now. And I would say Amos would be, in most people's opinion, suspect number 1. And then you have the second son, Clement Jr. One complaint filed against Clement Jr. reads that a redacted victim called 911 to report that Clement Jr., the mayor's second son, was assaulting her inside the mayor's house. This is Clement Jr.'s girlfriend, and she says that she was trying to leave the house. Clement Jr. gets up in her face and he starts pushing her as she's walking out of the bedroom. Quote, the victim stated that when she turned around to push the defendant away from her, he began to punch her in the face. The victim said that she attempted to get away from the defendant but was unable to. He just keeps punching her until a third party, one of his friends that happens to be there, rips him off of her. The officers contact the defendant, Clement Jr., and they write that the defendant was extremely uncooperative and denied anything happened. He had a strong odor of alcohol on his breath as well as on his person, red, watery eyes, and poor balance. Now, Clement Jr. pleads guilty to harassment and receives a suspended sentence, and his conviction is wiped from public record. And then you have Anthony, the youngest son, Jennifer Kirk's abuser. He's got a lot of cases. Many of them are the ones that we've covered with Jennifer Kirk, her reports before her death. He also has another case against him, an SA case where the victim states to the judge that she's terrified of running into Anthony because it's a small town. Which, by the way, Superior Court Judge Paul Rotman decides that he's going to give Anthony a special chance. And by special, I just mean very uncommon. So he gives Anthony a very low bail. This bail goes from being $7,500 to $2,500. And he explains his decision by saying that he worked with Anthony's mother and knew his father held elected office. What the fuck does that mean? Yeah. The judge states, I know Mrs. Richards for when she used to work with the troopers. She has a lot of experience with these types of cases and know what these are like. Mr. Richards has been part of city council, if you're not now, I don't know if you are now. So he's been part of the local council. So they're going to be fine third parties, I think.
I know Miss Richards from when she used to work for the troopers. She has a lot of experience with these types of cases and knows what these are like. Mr. Richards has been part of city council. If you're not now, I don't know if you are now. So he's been a part of the local community, and they're going to be fine third parties, I think.
They're going to be fine third parties?
Yes. Okay. This is the system in which all of these little... Okay. They violently assault a woman. They get charged with felony assault. And then the judge gives them a low bail. And the judge is like, fine third parties, meaning I think your mom and dad are going to make sure that you don't try to run away, that you don't do anything crazy while you're out on bail before the trial. And guess what? A trial never fucking happens because the prosecutors then come in and they're like, hey, plead guilty. And instead of a felony charge, we'll give you a misdemeanor for something like harassment instead of violently kicking someone in the stomach while they're pregnant.
They really run to town, huh?
Yeah. The judge even says, to say that you dodged a bullet is an understatement on this one.
Well, to say that you dodged a bullet is probably an understatement on this one. These are pretty serious charges. And I understand the evidentiary issues that were presented, but had those not been there and it had been less complicated, you were facing some really serious charges that involve a lot of jail time. You understand that, of course.
Yes.
Okay.
It just seems like who's dodging a bullet and how are they dodging a bullet? Through you? Judge Paul Rotman declined to comment, and a court spokesperson has stated, judicial officers cannot and do not comment on their cases in order to maintain the integrity of their decisions and to ensure that for fairness reasons their thinking is reflected solely in the official court record without extraneous commentary. Even though the code of conduct for judges state that, quote, shall not allow family, social, political, or other relationships to influence the judge's judicial conduct or judgment. So the sheer fact that he's like, why know your parents?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even after the death of Jennifer Kirk, July 17th, 2020. So this is actually after Jennifer Kirk's death and Susu Norton's death. There's another filing. After 2 women are found dead in the house.
Yeah.
Okay? A woman reports her boyfriend scratched her face and kicked her. Her boyfriend being Anthony Richards.
What is going on in this house?
Yeah. She said that Anthony threw her onto the ground, kicked her, and punched her in the face, started kicking her in the ribs, her legs, her back, her butt, causing pain. The officers actually located a third-party witness who was like, oh yeah, I saw that happen. And when they finally find Anthony, in the report, it states that he starts cussing out the officers that he's not going to jail. And quote, while declaring to Anthony that he was under arrest, Anthony attempted to walk into the residence. Officer Aaron and I got a hold of him while I was trying to place handcuffs on Anthony. He grabbed my handcuff by the loop and would not let go, prompting me to pull my laser and demand that he let the handcuff go. Anthony Richards was arrested and transported to KRJ, where he remained uncooperative and refused to participate in a preliminary breath test.
Okay. But
he's out now.
So these cops, they first get involved. They're like, that's sus. I'm going to arrest you. You're going to get punished. Mm-hmm. And then they turn around. There's nothing going on here.
Yeah. Or they arrest them. And then the judge is like, you guys are good, fine people. I see no reason to be suspicious of you. You can be out on bail until the trial. And then prosecutors, remember, Annette used to work with the prosecutors. Not saying that there's a connection, but I'm just saying that's an odd thing, right? They'll come in and they'll say, hey, plead guilty. I'll give you a misdemeanor. They do tiny bits of jail time here and there, but barely any. And these judges are actually insane. There's one judge that lowered his bail to $100 while he's out on probation. $100. And there's an audio of this where he's talking to Anthony and he's explaining why strangulation is such a bad thing, aside from the fucking obvious. And he says,
in talking about the gravity of the situation, what jumps out at me in both of these cases is there was an allegation of strangulation in both cases, and that's the reason this was charged as a felony case. And I hope you do understand that you're serving a large amount of jail time, but you are getting away from a felony conviction by taking this agreement, and that's a big benefit to you. But what I was getting at is strangulation is a very serious thing, and it's recognized that way by the legislature. That's why these types of cases can be charged as felonies. One thing I'd point out to you, the natural result of a punch or a kick or kind of your typical misdemeanor assault is a bruise or an injury, that sort of thing. The result of strangulation, if it's not stopped, if a person can't breathe, is death, and that's a serious thing. That wasn't the result in either of these cases, fortunately, but someone who's not trained in the medical profession, that sort of thing, it's a dangerous thing, because someone like you or I, you don't know when to let up and when it might be too late. So keep that in mind.
It's like you're talking to a 5-year-old of not to play fight.
But also, and one comment reads, keep that in mind. The judge is literally saying, next time you beat a woman, keep in mind strangulation is a bigger charge because you might accidentally kill them. Like, what do you mean keep in mind? And like, what do you mean a medical professional? We're not medical professionals, so we can't strangle women. Which, side note, I don't know if you want to take a random comment online as truth or a fraction of the truth or like a flat out lie or a hallucination. It's up to you, but it reads, I worked a summer job in that town in 2008. One of my 16-year-old coworkers was viciously jumped by one of the Richards brothers while I was there, and another ex-coworker got jumped right after I left. I tried to get the kid to go to the police, but he said their family is too powerful. Also, one of the police officers in that police department was basically f***ing every girl in the area that was between 18 to 20 years old, and I'm not exaggerating. He was openly flaunting his relationship with these teens he groomed in front of everyone, and nobody did a thing about it. I was just telling my partner how insane this place was like a week ago.
This town is out of control.
Yeah.
Whoa.
There's another nearby town, I believe in the same bureau, where ProPublica did a huge expose on them as well. But every single police officer in that small police department, not this one, but it's a town nearby, they all have domestic violence charges. And actually, Alaska is one of the most dangerous states in the United States. For a woman, women are 2.5 times more likely than the national average to be killed by a man in the state of Alaska. More than 4 in 5 Indigenous women, specifically, have experienced violence in their lifetime, and Indigenous women are killed at a rate 10 times the national average. On any given day in the United States, thousands of Indigenous women and girls are listed as missing in federal databases, and no matter how large that number is, it's still not comprehensive. There is not even like a way to identify that someone is Indigenous when they go missing. It's always like white, Hispanic, Asian, Black. There's no way. There's actually no comprehensive federal database that tracks how many Indigenous women are missing. There's no reliable count of how many have been murdered. It said that when an Indigenous woman disappears, she disappears 3 times. in life, in the media, and then in the data. So we're working on a full episode on a few other cases. I mean, a lot of these take a lot of time because it's hard even to get like the FOIA requests, and it's just really difficult. But it all just comes down to this, which don't even get me started on the boarding schools, that they would systematically just eradicate indigenous culture while saying indigenous women, saying that their culture is lesser than other cultures. Meanwhile, you're R-wording them. Every elected official gets up on every single fucking podium, shoves their face inside of a mic, and they pledge, they promise everyone that there's going to be change. And the only way that they're going to bring about change is the minute that their ass touches the seat of power. So you must vote for them specifically. It's very sympathetic words that are spoken with all of these politicians, and then the execution is completely hollow. It's empty. There's nothing of substance. Do they actually do something? After the ProPublica expose on this case, in an open letter, the police chief states that state investigators reviewed the case of Jennifer's death in 2018, and they found no new leads. The letter reads, to the Katsubi community, since the news articles about several deaths were published by the Anchorage Daily News, past traumas and pains have been reopened in our community. These difficulties are not lost on me or your police department. The tragedy around the death of Jennifer Kirk in 2018 is one of many that weighs on our hearts. We need to advise the public that reading this letter may be disturbing for community members. Many in our community have raised questions or concerns about Jennifer's untimely death. I wanted you to hear from me directly on how the investigator assigned to the case took care to investigate Jennifer's passing and what the process looked like, so you have as much information as possible to make informed decisions about what you read, see, or hear. They allege in this letter that the investigator spent at least 16 days interviewing witnesses, collecting evidence, and following up leads before closing the case. Jennifer's own sister has come out to state that the police failed to properly communicate with the family during the initial investigation. They failed to interview certain witnesses. They even declined to provide the family police audio and video recordings from this closed investigation. Previously, Jennifer's parents were outspoken about stating that she would never self-exit and that the police never even really spoke to her about anything. Also, it was closed within one investigation day. I don't know where he's coming up with 16 days all of a sudden. And also, if that's the case, you should prosecute Anthony for strangulation, even if you don't prosecute him for potentially being involved in something more sinister. But he admitted to strangling her before she died. Mm-hmm. They continued, the medical examiner has the ultimate authority in determining the case of death. After a thorough review of the evidence and post-mortem autopsy, the medical examiner determined that there was no evidence that Jennifer had in any way been strangled prior to her death that day. There was also no evidence that anyone other than Jennifer fired the gun that ended her life. The police wrote in their own report that her arm is shorter than the gun. So suddenly it's no longer shorter than the gun, and it's actually physically feasible that she could have pulled the trigger, but they don't provide any context, because I'm sure you could MacGyver the trigger in a way where if you pull something else, maybe the trigger is pulled, but they're not saying that's what happened. They're just saying, no, I'm telling you this, so you're going to believe it. And they counter it with this. Some have expressed concern whether it would have been physically possible for Jennifer to fire the rifle. Measurements taken of both Jennifer's body and the firearm show that it was. How? Literally how?
Yeah, it's just like physics.
I know this is hard to hear. Something I do want to note to you, we are aware of the domestic violence history in this case and in others. I want to be clear, I strongly and vehemently condemn that. No one should ever think that it is okay to abuse another and cause harm. Those who do harm should face consequences. Okay, then persecute him for strangulation. While it is not my decision nor my department's on prosecuting or sentencing those incidents, I do want you to know that I denounce domestic violence in the strongest possible terms. And while many of you have asked about Jennifer, others have also inquired about Susanna Norton, her ongoing homicide investigation. Susanna is not forgotten. We know that many find similarities in the location, family involved, and other circumstances surrounding her murder. I understand that. As your chief, I want you to know that we have reached out to the Alaska Bureau of Investigations and asked them in 2021 to review the investigation. Which, side note, they kind of refuted this. They were like, we were not requested in 2021 to look into Susanna Norton's death.
Okay.
So they're like, actually, we were asked like later, not in 2021. So this police chief, I don't know where he's getting his numbers. Maybe I'm getting the numbers wrong, but like it just is not adding up at all in any sense of the word. I'm sure the Alaska Bureau of Investigation's Missing and Murdered Indigenous Peoples Unit will provide updates to us and to the community as they move forward. This doesn't make sense. The same reporter from ProPublica actually reached out to the police chief last year and asked a series of questions. On what day did investigator Millett close Jennifer Kirk's death investigation? May 24th, 2018 is the police chief's word. That's 1 day. 1 day. But now he's saying it's 16 days. The death investigation records suggest that the case was closed before investigator Millett received the final autopsy report for Jennifer Kirk. Is that correct? And he says correct. But then in this open letter now, he's saying, well, this is up to the ME. We don't decide anything. So why is he switching up? Jennifer's sister even states, this open letter definitely took us by surprise again, and it was almost like adding insult to injury. Okay, what about the investigation into Susu Norton's death? Alaskan state troopers have taken over the investigation in 2022. That's 2 years after she was found dead. They told Susu's family that they're going to send investigators into the town, and that never happened. And Susu's family would know because they live 3 houses down from the mayor. They never came into town. They never investigated. They're not talking to anyone. They just keep saying that they're investigating. And they also released this video on YouTube where they're like, let us know if you know anything.
What's the video?
It's a state trooper standing there being like, we are taking this very seriously. We are investigating the death of Susu Norton. Please let us know if you've known anything, seen anything. And it's like, isn't that your job?
Today marks the anniversary of Susu Norton's murder. She was killed March 9, 2020, 5 years ago today. MMIP investigators know that there are people in Kotzebue or connected to Kotzebue that have information relating to this case, leading up to the events and following the events. We're asking for the public's help. If you have any information at all that could be relevant in this case, we ask that you reach out to the Alaska State Troopers. Your information could bring closure and healing to Susu's family, her friends, and the community of Kotzebue.
As for Susu's family, they weren't even told that she was strangled to death. And they live 3 houses down from the mayor. It just feels like there are certain cases where it's kind of like the whole sympathy and words, execution is hollow. Everyone is like, okay, we're going to take missing and murdered Indigenous people so seriously now. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a subunit inside of our police department, or the Alaskan State Troopers are going to have their own dedicated unit into investigating missing and murdered Indigenous people. And we're going to name it MMIP. And then we're going to investigate all these cases. And they come out online and they're like, yeah, we're investigating. And then ProPublica goes to the family and they're like, are they investigating? No. It just seems like they're not doing anything.
So what's like the latest update on the previous mayor and the family now?
They won't give any comments. They all still reside in that house. And Susu Norton's death is so-called being investigated. Okay, here's another thing, right? So while I do think that the rules around a FOIA request. So in the United States, it's the Freedom of Information Act. If you want information about a particular case, especially like a criminal case, you as a citizen, each state is different. Some states are really annoying. Some states you have to like be a resident of that state. Anyway, you submit a request and you can get redacted case files. They're not going to give you everything. They're just going to give you what is mandated by law to give you. And with Jennifer Kirk's case, there wasn't a lot, but you can FOIA request it because it's a closed case, because she was deemed to have self-exited. Yeah. Now, here's the thing with Susanna Norton. They keep saying it's an ongoing investigation, which means you cannot get a FOIA request on an ongoing investigation because most of the time it's probably not good. They're investigating right now. You should not impede the police on doing their work. But if they're not doing the work, it almost feels like they're doing this so that nobody can get information, nobody can point out things that are weird or ask questions, and then everybody forgets about it and then they move on.
Yeah.
So they requested our FOIA request for Susu Norton's death, and they're saying, they denied it.
Oh, they denied.
Yeah, they denied it, and they said it's because it's an open, ongoing investigation, right? But then I'm looking online, and the family is coming out to journalists and saying, what are they investigating? They told us they were going to come into town, and they haven't come into town. So it's just open. It's not an investigation. Also, I'm just saying, it's a really small police department, and the fact that they took so long to get back to us, because usually police departments, if they want to reject you for a FOIA request, it's like they already have a template. They're like, for ABC, bye, you're not getting it, okay? And then you can try to fight it because sometimes you're like, I don't think that's legally right. You can try to kind of maneuver around it, but no, they took so long and it didn't make any sense. One comment about this case reads, when it's rich billionaires who jettison themselves to the bottom of the ocean, we've got enough resources and money to send the Coast Guard to the bottom of the sea to retrieve their bodies and the debris. When it's 2 indigenous women, no one cares. Suddenly there's no more money, no more resources, no bother, no care. This is documented discrimination in broad daylight. Other people are commenting, how is this coordinated silence okay? Like, who's holding these organizations accountable? Why are they allowed to just not answer? Like, why is the former mayor allowed to just not respond to comments?
Yeah.
And so that is where we are right now with this case. There's going to be a lot more. We're working on multiple different episodes, but if you live in Alaska, if you live anywhere near this town, call their police department, send in tips, send in requests to the state troopers, interact with anything that you see online about Jennifer Kirk and Susanna Norton. I think police typically don't care until everybody cares. And then they still don't care. They just don't want to be seen as not doing their job. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Be safe.
Bada bing, bada boo.
Premonitions have really bad PR. The science crowd is going to call it coincidence dressed in hindsight, probability at best. That's what a premonition is. The spiritual crowd is going to call it a sign. They say some people just have this knack where they know things before everybody else catches up. But every single person will call it the type of situation that I will only bring up if I turned out to be right. It's also just insanely difficult to prove that you have a premonition. Like, how do you prove to someone that you had a dream something bad was going to happen to them before it happened to them, unless maybe you have the metadata to prove it? August 10th, 2019, a woman seems to have a premonition just 38 minutes before the incident. That's what it feels like. This woman is at work, and the past few hours, she has been, by all objective accounts, a pretty bad employee. She's been looking up furniture sales online. She's been taking a nap. But for some reason, at 5:52 in the morning during her night shift, it's no longer sofas and coffee tables. This woman types into the search bar of her government computer, latest on Epstein in jail. Her desk is just 15 feet from Jeffrey Epstein's jail cell. She's supposed to check up on him every 30 minutes through the night, but she and her fellow officer do not do that. And instead of getting up and walking over to see Jeffrey Epstein in jail, another search is made 10 minutes later, 5:52 a.m., latest on Epstein in jail. Some people could call it a premonition because just 38 minutes later, Jeffrey Epstein is found dead in his jail cell. But when the DOJ asks her about it, she says, I don't remember doing that. So for reasons she says she can't recall, she used her work computer twice, allegedly, to look up the man she was supposed to be watching who was 15 feet away from her. She looked him up right before the rest of the world even knew he was dead.
Was this like the latest?
Yes, it was released in the latest Epstein files on January 30th.
That's freaking insane.
And there's more. Chase Bank had flagged the FBI of suspicious transactions to her Chase account, cash deposits. All of them were under $10,000. It was like a total of $11,000, but experts weighed in and they said for Chase to flag those types of cash transactions
to the FBI?
To the FBI means that it must have been a certain cadence. And interestingly, one of the biggest cash deposits, which was like $5,000, was the same day that Jeffrey Epstein was moved into the special housing unit, which is the unit that she is in.
Wow.
So all of this, I mean, the answer could be as simple as this is all a coincidence, or maybe it is a glitch in the computer, or it could be as dark as some people just know things before they happen, and maybe it has nothing to do with a premonition. That is what the House Oversight Committee wants to know, and why they want to formally interview Epstein's jail guards again, to answer all the questions, not just about the searches, but also how the exact day that Epstein is returned to the special housing unit, the same guard gets a cash deposit to her bank account, why Chase Bank flagged 12 separate cash deposits to her bank account as suspicious activity, and why at the time, knowing all of this, the Department of Justice never questioned her about any of the cash deposits. And the only reason that we know any of this is because it's been released in the Epstein files. In fact, a lot of new information has come out of the files, leading people to start rabbit holing into conspiracy theories. Were children being sacrificed? Were they being eaten alive by the elites? Is Epstein still alive? And how do Epstein, Bill Clinton, and Donald Trump all connect? We'd like to thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support the Joyful Heart Foundation. They are working to transform society's response to SADV and CA and support survivors' healings. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team, and we'd also like to thank you guys for your continued support. As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com, and we're also going to link the change.org petition by various survivors of Jeffrey Epstein in the show notes so that you can go sign that. There's a lot of disclaimers with this case, but first and foremost, a lot of statements and full depositions, 4-hour-long, 5-hour-long, 6-hour-long depositions have been condensed and rearranged just for clarity, brevity, for me to give you context to other questions. But these are all publicly available information, as well as just the fact that House Oversight Committee, if they speak to certain people, such as Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, even the security guard who they want to talk to, it doesn't imply guilt. They're being called in as witnesses. They're not being called in as suspects. There's no implication of guilt here. Even if someone's name shows up in the files, there's no implication of guilt. In fact, they all say that they're not guilty. So with that being said, let's get started. They call him the donor whisperer. If you need someone to reach deep into somebody else's pockets and give you some chump change, you call Middleton. He's a proximity distributor. It's like a weird thing. He doesn't sell you power because that's hard. You have to be good. You still have to be charismatic to some extent to be sold power. Then you can be a politician, right? He sells you a chance to be right next to power, to interact with power itself. Mark Middleton worked with the Clinton administration before resigning, but there's a lot of drama there. There's a lot of controversy surrounding his career. There is speculation that he kept using his connections to meet with foreign billionaires and take their money with the promise of getting them in the same room as Clinton. He's the one that famously said in an internal memo, "Personally, with a few exceptions, I don't think there should ever be an empty seat on board Air Force One." Every flight that Bill Clinton takes, he thinks donors should be on board. That's always been kind of the way that he does it. Donors of the president should be cared for and fed. And one of those potential donors is Jeffrey Epstein. While Bill Clinton is in office, Jeffrey Epstein visits the White House at least 17 times, all under Mark Middleton's tenure. He's the one that basically okays Epstein being on the guest list. Bill Clinton will later say, I have no clue. These are just donors that come to the White House. They host parties. That's it. I don't know anything about this. Mark Middleton is the one that's letting them in. But that was then. This is now. Well, this was 2022. So 4 years ago, Mark Middleton, they say he only got worse. He was receiving medical treatment for it, but with Ghislaine Maxwell being convicted, Mark Middleton's association with Epstein and Bill Clinton is being scrutinized more in the public eye. People are digging up the fact that he likely accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars from foreign interests while insinuating that they could get White House access. So instead of explaining all of that, he had just pled the fifth on everything. All of that's coming back up. Nobody's really looking past his career with envy and admiration. He got to the White House, he got near power, but it seems like power corrupts. That's the sentiment. May 7th, 2022, Saturday morning in Arkansas. Mark Middleton gets into his BMW SUV. He starts driving. He has never been here before, but he stops his car in this giant farm. It's 1,200 acres of working farmland owned by an anti-poverty nonprofit. This is Mark Middleton's first and last time visiting the farm. He sits in the car and he sends his wife a text message. Found a perfect place for a nap in the sun. Going to rest for a while. You're a great mom and wife, babe. Please be happy today and get some sun. It'll make you feel better. I love you. He sends a heart emoji. So he parks
this eerie text message.
He parks the BMW near the back of the farm, and he walks up to this really tall tree, and he somehow like MacGyvers and drags a bench underneath this tall tree, and he uses a dollar store type extension cord to tie himself to this tree. But that's not how he dies. He puts a shotgun up to his chest, and the trigger is pulled, and his feet leave the bench. It's this very elaborate setup that Mark Middleton is found dead. And for the past few years, since 2022, there have been whispers that maybe...
I can't really follow the... Like, what did he do? He tied a rope and a shotgun?
Yes, to his chest.
So did he die by a gunshot?
Yes, right? But also he was found, like, hanging. And so for the past few years, because of how strange that whole thing is, there have been whispers that, yeah, maybe he didn't do it to himself. The shotgun was found approximately 30 feet away from his body, which a lot of people found very suspicious.
30 feet?
Yes.
30 How did that happen?
Some experts argue it could be from the recoil of the discharge, but even the shotgun aspect is bizarre because that's a very long barrel weapon.
Yes.
It's very uncomfortable to use. And more often than not, and I don't know statistically, this could just be anecdotal from researching, but chest is an odd choice. Maybe it was for family of having an open casket. I don't know. Chest is an odd choice. A shotgun is an odd choice. A shotgun and the tree is an odd choice. A farm that he's never visited, this is his first time going to the farm, is an odd choice. There's a lot of odd things. Authorities are reassuring the public that there's no evidence that anybody else has been present, no evidence of a struggle, no sign of foul play, nothing. Mark Middleton had a history of depression. That is what we are told. And a lot of people who already dislike the Clinton family, either because of their politics or because of their connection to Epstein, have started a conspiracy. They have stated, it's odd, isn't it? I mean, the timing. In 2022, new information was being released about Epstein, and then Mark Middleton dies. Some internet users already fell into this conspiracy rabbit hole that the Clintons could potentially be behind Epstein's death in jail in 2019. This is them cleaning up all their loose ends. Jeffrey Epstein, and then who connected them to Jeffrey Epstein? Probably Mark Middleton. He's the middleman. That's what a lot of internet conspiracy theorists have gone to. Popular Facebook conspiracy posts think that it's a valid connection to explore. And adding a bit more fuel to the conspiracy fire is that a month after Mark Middleton's death, his family filed to seal the incident photos. But they used the law firm Rose Law Firm, which is where Hillary Clinton practiced becoming First Lady. So she was an attorney. Conspiracy communities have started seeing this as like a smoking gun. Radar Online, which is... I don't know how you would classify that publication, but apparently they spoke to a close source, a potential associate of Mark Middleton, stating that, quote, everyone that I know here knows it's physically impossible for Mark to have self-exited. Then Daily Mail goes to post, Arkansas cops rule self-exit and death of Clinton aide linked to Jeffrey Epstein despite no sign of a weapon. I will say that this goes viral and more people jump into the conspiracy theory, but there was a weapon found. It was just found 30 feet away. Daily Mail does quietly publish a correction to that the shotgun was indeed found 30 feet away from the body, but it's way too late. The Clinton body count hashtag starts trending, with social media users tagging all of the suspicious deaths around the Clinton family, many of them being self-exits. To which someone comments on Reddit, so should working with the Clintons now be a registered cause of death for MEs? Even Trump reportedly retweets hashtag Clinton body count back in 2019. And now in 2026, Mark Middleton's death is again a topic of conversation because Bill Clinton is asked about it during his deposition regarding the Epstein files. And MAGA has gone to repost those clips with hashtag Clinton body count. But Middleton isn't just connected to the Clintons. There's one flight log that shows Middleton flying on Epstein's private jet, and also aboard that flight is Donald Trump, his then wife Marla Maples, and their infant daughter Tiffany. That is what is being reported. So how closely are they all connected? Hillary Clinton has made a comeback in a sense. I feel like she has been largely out of the general public's eye after her presidential run. Hillary Clinton is deposed to talk about Epstein, a man that she honestly barely associated with, I will say that. Before the deposition, Hillary Clinton is asked whether or not she thinks people like, even Andrew Mountbatten Windsor should go before a congressional committee. And she states,
I think everybody should testify. Look, including the former prince. I think everybody should testify who is asked to testify.
And this whole thing of getting the Clintons in front of the House Oversight Committee has been going on, has been in the talks since like October of last year. Mm-hmm. This is not a new thing. Everybody's been fighting. People want different things. The Republicans wanted it to be a closed door conversation. And the Democrats and the Clintons are like, why the f would we do that? So that you can just leak and manipulate different things to spin your own narrative. We want it to be completely public. Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of back and forth to a lot of House Oversight Committee members that are Republicans, even threatening to throw the Clintons in for contempt of Congress if they don't show up to be deposed. It's been back and forth, back and forth. And she states to the BBC before her deposition,
I just want it to be fair. I want everybody treated the same way. We have nothing to hide. We have called for the full release of these files repeatedly. We think sunlight is the best disinfectant.
And she thinks that this is a huge ploy from the White House, stating that this is, quote,
this is so obvious, and they keep trying to divert. Look at this shiny object. We're going to have the Clintons, even Hillary Clinton, who never met the guy. We're going to have her there.
She goes in to be deposed in March of this year, and an hour into the deposition, all hell breaks loose. A Republican representative, Lauren Boebert, she takes a picture of Hillary Clinton in the deposition room and then leaks it to social media. So yes, it's going to be public, but it's not live.
And it's like breaking news.
Yes.
Guys, look. Uh-huh.
And Hillary Clinton, I don't know why they thought they were doing what they were doing, but she has a strong emotional reaction. And that's probably the clips that you've seen on social media where she says, I'm finished with this. If you're all going to do that, I'm finished. You can hold me in contempt until the cows come home. This is just typical behavior. And she storms out.
Mm-hmm. There are photos that are being released of the secretary as she is testifying. Can you please explain how that
I'm done with this. If you guys are doing that, I am done. You can hold me in contempt from now until the cows come home. This is just typical behavior.
We will go off the record.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
So I would like to understand how that's permissible.
Before the hearing was...
It doesn't matter. We all are abiding by the same rules.
I will take that down.
Yeah,
so I would like to take a break at this moment.
Yeah,
I'd like to have a conversation.
Done for now.
Go off the record. Go off the record.
And then she comes back in. But I will say the girlies, they seem to love Hillary Clinton's deposition for the sole fact of the people that are questioning her are House committee representatives. They're not attorneys. Hillary Clinton is an attorney. Mm-hmm. And the way that she's able to shut down questions, the way that she's able to just, I don't even know what her attorneys were doing in there because she was doing everything. She is sharp as a tack, whether you like her, you don't like her, you have your opinions on her. She was fully there.
I am so tired of answering that question. If you have one scintilla of evidence to the contrary, put it forward. I have never been on his island.
And people have taken it one of both ways. Some people think Hillary Clinton is the definition of stand by your man. And they don't say this in a positive way, okay? And these are mainly coming from Democrats because Republicans have a lot more harsh things to say, but that typically lies in the politics of it all, right? But with the Democrats, because Hillary Clinton is a Democrat, they'll say, wow, she's the definition of stand by her man because famously her husband cheated on her with an intern in the White House, Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky. Or other people think she fucking hates her husband. In the whole deposition, she's like, why are you asking me? Go ask Bill. Mm-hmm. Why are you asking me? Ask Bill. Ask my husband, Bill. He'll probably know. I don't know anything.
He'll have to answer that. You'll have a chance to talk to him tomorrow. You've subpoenaed him. He's going to be here tomorrow. You're going to have a chance to question him tomorrow. Well, you certainly can ask him.
Okay.
But I will say overall, there is nothing illuminating from her deposition. Truly, I don't think that Hillary Clinton has any sort of connection with Epstein. If anything, I think that Lauren Boebert is the one that gets the most hate in this whole deposition. She just was asking a lot of weird stuff. She kind of comes out of this deposition as the one that did not perform the best. Hillary Clinton, overall, from what I can see, a lot of people like her deposition. However, this next part is pretty monumental. This is going to be the first time a former U.S. president has testified to a congressional panel since Gerald Ford in 1983. He says, this is Bill Clinton. He's sitting there and we haven't seen Bill Clinton in a really long time either. he's so old. I think that he might be dealing with some sort of health issue. He reminds, because my grandfather had Parkinson's. Every time he grabs his water, he's incredibly shaky. A lot of people have associated that with him being guilty. That's his tell. Some people have said that him drinking water is the tell. Other people have taken it a step further to say, like, he's so nervous. People have made short clips and memes of it. I definitely think that he has some sort of health condition where he's shaking quite a bit.
First of all, good morning and welcome to all of you to our hometown. I appreciate you coming here. I'm here today basically for two reasons. First of all, I love my country and the Constitution, and I believe America was built on the idea that no one is above the law, especially presidents, and that we should all live by the same set of rules shaped by the Constitution. Democracy requires every person to play their part, and I hope that by being here today, we can bring ourselves a little further away from the brink and back to being a country where we can disagree civilly and search for the truth and justice. The second reason I'm here is that the girls and women whose lives Jeffrey Epstein destroyed deserve not just justice, but healing. They've been waiting too long for both.
He states that he was only briefly acquainted with Jeffrey Epstein, and it ended years before his crimes even came to light. So this is pre-2008. He never witnessed anything in their limited interactions, but he wants to help the DOJ. He wants to help the House committee to make sure that they can all prevent something like this from happening again. He also mentions that his wife, Hillary Clinton, should not have to answer to anybody. Basically, in more eloquent words, he states that she's got nothing to do with Epstein. However, quote,
on the other hand, I do think you should be talking to me. I think you should have called me. I did take those plane trips with him, and you have a right to ask those questions. So I'm glad to be here, and I understand what the oath is. I have to be honest with you. Be 80 years old if I lived on my next birthday. I don't remember everything that happened 24 years ago, but I do remember some things, and I will tell you what I remember as best I can.
But I will say, just before we go into the deposition, there is an uncomfortable moment later on where Bill Clinton is asked if he's ever lied under oath or during a deposition, to which he responds, no.
Have you ever lied in a deposition?
No.
Have you ever lied while under oath?
No.
But we all know that he technically has lied under oath before regarding the Monica Lewinsky situation, where he states that he did not have sexual relations with Monica Lewinsky, and we all know that that was not true.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
Some people think that that's damning evidence as is, and that we should look at the deposition with a different perspective, just knowing that. How did he meet Epstein? Former President Bill Clinton states that he met him through Larry Summers, who was the head of Harvard at the time. Okay, we hear about Larry Summers way too damn often, okay? He was the Secretary of Treasury during Clinton's administration, Larry Summers. So everybody's connected through Larry fucking Summers. Larry Summers, and this is me paraphrasing for what I believe to be brevity, but you can watch like the whole 4.5 hour long deposition if you'd like. Larry Summers is like, hey Bill, you should meet this donor. He just gave Harvard $10 million for brain research. He's information hungry. You would love talking to him. Like, he loves to talk about economics, politics. Oh, and here's the cherry on top. You just got out of the White House. You're trying to start your own foundation, the Clinton Foundation. You're trying to cure AIDS. You're trying to do all this stuff. He's got a massive jet, and he can fly you around, you and your entire Secret Service detail, because you can't fly by yourself these days because, you know, you just got out of the White House. And he can help you set up your nonprofit to provide life-saving AIDS medications to as many people around the world as possible. And because you just got out of the White House, it hadn't been funded yet. So that's great. He kind of insinuates that Epstein was just a means to an end for the foundation, and that a lot of people who cared more about the work that Clinton was doing, they would get involved later. So that's why Bill Clinton stopped hanging out with Epstein.
I thought Mr. Epstein was an interesting man, but I didn't think he was really interested in what I was doing. That is, he asked all these questions. He did ask about economics and politics, as he said he would. And he never asked me anything untoward. It's just that I thought I had done what I promised to do, and he had done what he promised to do. And I've always, over the years, with these donors, tried not to overstay my welcome. I thought that we'd done enough, and then it's time to start working with other people.
Which, side note about Larry Summers before we move on, he has resigned from his academic and faculty appointments at Harvard. So remember, he was then president, but then he was working as a professor, and then the Epstein files came out, and then he gave this whole like weird Epstein lecture to his students.
Some of you will have seen my statement of regret, expressing my shame with respect to what I did in communication with Mr. Epstein.
He also stepped down and parted ways with the New York Times, Bloomberg, and OpenAI. He was on the board, I believe. Yeah. Or some advisory or something like that. But Bill Clinton, interestingly, describes Epstein as a vacuum cleaner.
How would you describe the substance of your conversations with Jeffrey Epstein during the many hours that you spent together on the aircraft?
Well, at first, he really seemed to be like a vacuum cleaner, like he really wanted information. There was nothing overtly manipulative about it. He wanted to know, what did I think of derivatives trading? Did I think that the stock market was properly regulated, or did it need more? And it was great for the first, 2 or 3, 4 or 5 conversations. But I could tell that it was like, you guys are in politics. Don't you ever feel like sometimes somebody's talking to you and then they're just checking the box and they got to go do something else and be somebody else? That's the way I felt.
So if he's saying it felt like Jeffrey Epstein just wanted to say he knew Bill Clinton. Which is kind of alarming. The House committee wants to know if perhaps Epstein was trying to get specific information out of Bill Clinton. That would be a huge concern for national security if, let's say, a trafficker has blackmail against very well-connected, politically one of the most powerful people on the planet. What could happen then?
Why did he call him a vacuum cleaner, though?
Just wants knowledge. Just like vacuum cleaning information.
Yeah, but at the same time, he doesn't really care.
Yeah.
He just wants information to be used on other...
I imagine he's like the type where you sit down and it's rapid fire 25 questions. And if you don't answer in the way that they think is entertaining or interesting, they just move on to the next person. Is kind of the feeling that I get from his response. But they ask, was he ever trying to monetize the relationship, to your knowledge?
To the best of my knowledge, he never did.
Did Jeffrey Epstein ever inform or represent to you that he was working with any intelligence service of any nation, including the United States? No. But they show him a picture of a man named Marius Robert, whom Clinton says he doesn't know who that person is. He's like, I've never seen this person in my life. I don't know who Marius Robert is. But they're like, what about the passport photo? He's shown a picture of a passport. They're like, the passport name is Marius Robert. You don't know Marius Robert, but who does the picture look like?
It looks like Jeffrey Epstein.
They explain, the reason I ask you about this specifically is because I do believe that Jeffrey Epstein was an intelligence operative. So this was a passport that was actually entered and released by the DOJ. It was found in his safe, if you will. So it's an alias. The reason I ask you that is, given your nature and position, I'm wondering if you were essentially targeted by a honeypot operation and or by intelligence to gather information. Bill Clinton smiles.
Is there a question?
So with that, one of the main people under fire with the new Epstein files release is Howard Lutnick. He's the former New York City neighbor to Jeffrey Epstein.
He's a neighbor?
Yeah, like next door neighbor. And according to Politico, Howard Lutnick has stated in a podcast that he vowed back in 2005 that he would never be in the same room as Epstein ever again. Which is like a very odd thing. Why 2005, right? But then according to the file dump, Howard Lutnick also reportedly invited Epstein to a 2015 fundraiser for Hillary Clinton. So it's unclear if Epstein went, but what the hell? Okay?
Who is he?
He's the Secretary of Commerce appointed by Trump. They're trying to get him to resign as we speak.
And he was just a neighbor.
Yeah,
back in the days.
He was a neighbor, and he was, at one point close to the Clintons, who are Democrats, but now he's the Secretary of Commerce with Trump. Yeah. But he was right next door to Jeffrey Epstein's $250 million New York City just mansion. So he goes on this podcast, Howard Lutnick does, and he said that he and his wife were invited over to Jeffrey Epstein's house because they're neighbors. So it's like, hey, billionaire and billionaire, let's all meet. I don't know if they're billionaires, but so they see this massage table just in the middle of a room in Epstein's house, and it's just candles everywhere. And Epstein creepily insinuates that he gets a massage every day, the right kind of massage.
And the right kind of massage.
So Lutnick and his wife, Allison Lutnick, he says they all but flee the Manhattan townhouse because they're like, disgusting, disgusting. And according to Howard Lutnick,
and in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
Safe to assume that he was never in the same room with Epstein since 2005, right? But the emails show that he was reportedly at Epstein's Island years after 2005. He emailed Epstein stating that him and his wife and children, along with another family, were visiting the Caribbean and asked if Epstein would be around and whether or not they could visit him for a meal. And then a day later, Epstein emails Lutnick, nice seeing you. So we don't know if he was on Epstein's Island, but safe to assume that they did see each other in the Caribbeans.
Yeah.
Even in 2017, according to the New York Times, Epstein contributed to a charity dinner that was in honor of Lutnick. But in a Senate subcommittee hearing, Lutnick says, I did not have a relationship with him. I barely had anything to do with that person, okay?
I did not have anything you could call a relationship, anything you could call an acquaintance. I literally met him 3 times over 14 years with widespread in between.
I've never heard anybody say, oh yeah, I know Epstein.
Yeah.
Nobody, everyone says the exact same thing. Don't know the guy, barely know the guy. I don't talk to him.
I think that I was just a friend of his, even though I spent 50 hours on a private plane with him.
Yeah.
His private plane with him.
It's like nobody knows him, but he knows everybody.
Yeah.
Like everybody's in his email.
Exactly. As for that lunch with his wife and kids and Epstein, he says,
my wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies. I had another couple they were there as well with their children, and we had lunch on the island. That is true, for an hour, and we left with all of my children, with my nannies and my wife all together.
Also, Howard Lutnick just looks AI generated. I don't know how else to describe it. It was bothering me ever since, and I have nobody to talk to about it. He looks like AI generated pictures. Like, you know, when you see those AI generated people who like go fishing and then they catch a shark and they're like, and it just looks so that's what Howard Lutnick looks like to me. During his deposition, Bill Clinton, he's asked why President Trump ignored other prominent figures in his circle, such as Howard Lutnick, who have had close ties with Epstein. This is an opinion question, because the House committee is asking Bill Clinton, why do you think President Trump is ignoring other people in his circle, prominent figures such as Howard Lutnick, who have had close ties with Epstein? How is he supposed to know what Trump is thinking? This is not a question that Bill Clinton can answer. This is an opinion question. They're not here to give opinions. And other times where they're asked opinion questions that they don't want to answer, their attorneys step in, Bill Clinton steps in, Hillary Clinton is like, I'm not here for speculation. I'm here for facts. But Bill Clinton, his attorneys don't stop him. And Bill Clinton says,
Lutnick runs a big company and has made a lot of money and has supported him strongly. I don't think he believes that he's done anything bad enough to... I think he thinks he took his family to the island and he couldn't have done anything wrong. That's what I think he thinks. But I'm speculating. I'm doing what I have no business doing because I really don't know.
And why'd you say that?
Yeah, and this is where a lot of people have a lot of problems with this. I think that this could easily, if you want to have zero nuance and if you want to just like die by your party, which who wants to die by their party these days? You could make it a Republican and Democrat issue, but I will say that no victim of sex trafficking ever cared what party their abuser belonged to. So I don't think that this is a Democrat-Republican issue. I think this is an issue of sex trafficking and people in power. So this is not like me saying, oh, because of my political party, I'm going to side with this guy over that guy. But one thing that a lot of Democrats who would typically take Bill Clinton's side, they're saying, hold on, it's very uncomfortable that he's almost giving Trump outs. It's the same thing that Ghislaine Maxwell did last year in her DOJ interview with Todd Blanche.
I never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody of in the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
Why give your opinion on what Trump is thinking when you're not supposed to answer to opinions, and you gave your opinion in a way that almost clears Trump? Like, I'm sure Trump thinks he didn't have a relationship with Epstein. That's basically what he's saying. There is currently bipartisan effort to get Howard Lutnick out, to get him to resign. I just think the craziest thing, though, is that Howard Lutnick is a billionaire. Why even go on a podcast just to eat your own words later? Why go on a podcast and say, this happened in 2005 and my wife and I were like, we're never going to see this guy.
Right.
It's just
Wait, the 2005 comment, when was that made?
Like last year.
Oh, in the podcast?
Yeah.
And then the email came out.
Yeah. And then they're like, why'd you even go on the podcast?
Yeah.
You could have just shut up about Epstein. You could have just not said anything.
Well, he didn't think it was going to come out.
Yeah. So then the deposition heads into the flights, and it's been confirmed, and it's very, apparent that Bill Clinton has been on Epstein's private plane numerous times, the Lolita Express, if you will. He admits that during one flight, Naomi Campbell happened to be there. This is a name that consistently comes up, but there's no damning evidence against Naomi Campbell. She just keeps coming up all the time. Bill Clinton states that it was all for philanthropic charitable work, depending on your political views, depending on your view of powerful men abusing their positions, depending on your instinct. A lot of netizens have different takes about these types of responses, but nevertheless, he's like, it was all for philanthropy. I was just trying to save people. In the deposition, he's asked, because of the flight logs, they show that there are young girls on these planes. So when I hear young girls, I'm assuming that they're all of age, because they would have said underage, right? So the flight logs at least depict. And the pictures show that they're wearing tank tops and jeans. Who did he think they were? Is Epstein like, this is my assistant who is wearing a tank top and jeans to do philanthropic work? Why am I bringing this specific assistant to this trip? Like, who did you think they were? Bill Clinton?
I thought they were flight attendants.
Wow.
Do flight attendants typically wear tank tops and jeans?
They don't all wear uniforms on private planes.
Huh. Okay.
I don't know if that's true, right? But everyone's just kind of like, what? Mm-hmm. Even if they don't wear uniforms, they probably don't wear tank tops and jeans.
Yeah, this is such a dumb.
Then there's the viral photo of 22-year-old Shantae giving Clinton a neck massage at an airport. She was 22 at the time. And I do have to note that Shantae Davies has come out and said that Bill Clinton has been nothing but a gentleman in her experiences with him. She's been very outspoken of the abuse that Epstein had done to her along with Maxwell, but she never said that Bill Clinton was part of any of it.
Okay, my next question for you is, have you ever had contact with an individual by the name of Shantae Davies?
I believe Shantae, that's a distinctive name, and so I think that was the name of one of his flight attendants.
So, I mean, at this point, it's safe to assume that he knows who she is because, I mean, the picture went out. I'm sure he's prepped with his attorneys. He knows. He's further asked.
She's been described on being on a 2002 Africa trip and providing massages. Was she or any other young female on that trip underage at that time?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Did you ever receive a massage or have physical contact from her or anyone else on that trip?
You've seen the pictures. There was one time when I was sitting up and I got a back rub, a neck rub.
Okay.
And I think Shantae did it, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I didn't think it was anything unusual. I can't tell you how many airplanes I've been on where rich people asked me to go and they had someone offering massage. All these boats that you go on and all that, they all do that. And usually I don't do that. I'm not into this.
Into what?
We don't know.
What is he saying?
Yeah, we don't know. And the attorney is like, stop, just stop. He later states that on this specific trip, his neck had, quote, had spasmed and I was in pain. So they offered to help and I let them help.
Do you think a young girl massaging a president is unusual?
So are you asking his opinion?
There's a little riff. And then his other counsel steps in. Objection calls for speculation. I figured, did you ever think that all these women around Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell was odd, unusual, weird, or creepy?
There weren't all that many around when I was there.
How many would you say is not all that many?
I think on this big plane that was working long hours, having 2 to 4 people on there, I thought was, as far as I knew, they were all helping.
Flight attendants in tank tops and jeans.
And this questioning is done by a Republican representative, Nancy Mace. And we have this, people who have not watched the full deposition, there's like a clip going viral where he says, well, you got like a great tone to it. And Bill Clinton puts his hands in the air and everyone's like, oh my God, Bill Clinton is still flirting with young women. Look at him flirting with Representative Mace. And it's been clipped and everyone's like, you can't tell me that he wasn't, putting it on thick on her. And I was expecting flirting. They're going at it.
She was never at my house in Chappaqua for any personal reasons.
I didn't say anything for anything personal.
No, you didn't, but you had a great tone in your voice, and you're very good at it.
That's just...
Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
It is a compliment.
Thank you. And I did not go to Yale Law School or any law school for that matter.
Which makes sense. Nancy Mace was super confrontational with Hillary Clinton, and she's just been like a very controversial conservative figure, just all in her entire political career. A lot of people have a lot of thoughts about her, good or really bad, or however you want us to take it, right? But Bill Clinton I don't think he's flirting with her.
Okay, so that TikTok was out of context.
Yeah, she is like going for his neck in a way that is more extreme than everyone else. I think everyone is trying to at least be respectful. This is, at the end of the day, a former president, and this is a deposition that they called him to. The Republicans are obviously going to have more opinion-based questions or just questions that they're getting in there to get on the record to say to his face. And some Democrats, honestly, a lot of Democrats were upset with some of them because they were just going way too easy too. Which a lot of Democrats are like, we don't care that he's a Democrat.
Yeah.
Okay? Just like we don't care what any of these predators, not saying Bill Clinton is a predator, just any predator, we don't care about their political affiliation. You need to go harder. There were some Democrats that were like, we know, thank you for being here. We know Trump is just using you. Yeah. I voted for you, and it's like, no one cares, even if you voted for whoever, if they turn out to not be good. What? So I digress. Nancy Mace is going for it. Like, she's very aggressive, very intense. And I don't think that he was flirting with her because she keeps insinuating that he knew what was going on. And so that's why she's saying, I never said that you knew, or something along those lines. And that's why he says, no, but your tone had a great tone to it. Like very like, but you knew what you're saying,
Yeah.
But a lot of people are saying like, I like your voice, but that's not what was happening. Yeah.
That is crazy.
That was not what was happening at all. It's actually one of the most aggressive parts of the deposition. So unless maybe he just likes someone who's like going for his neck and his wife's neck, maybe he's into that. So what can I say? That's an opinion. I'm not in Bill Clinton's mind. There was another report that came out in my little research about Nancy Mace. There was a Reddit poll going around where people, citizens, Redditors, netizens would be voting on who the hottest representative is. And there was an expose, or alleged staffers of Nancy Mace came out and said she made us make burner accounts and vote for her. I'm sorry, I could not live with this information by myself. I don't know if this is true. This is the allegation made, but. And then they also alleged that she would make them clean her Airbnbs because she didn't want to clean the housekeepers to do it. So she would have staffers do it. And one of them said something along the lines of, quote, She's messed up. The motherboard is fried up here. Nothing going on up here. So, but in a separate line of questioning, Bill Clinton does state that he wishes Shantae could have told him what was going on with Epstein because he really liked her, thought she was a good person.
I wish Shantae had told me. I liked her.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Then there's Maria Farmer. Maria Farmer is really important to this. It's like not said, but it's said, which is the fact that Maria Farmer has previously reached out to an FBI agent and stated that Epstein had stolen unclothed photos of her sisters who were 12 and 16 years old. This is back in like the 1990s. There is an active FBI report that was then of CSAM against Jeffrey Epstein. She also reported to the FBI agents that Epstein told her to go take photos of young girls at swimming pools, and if she did not comply, he would burn her family house down.
Whoa.
So Maria Farmer, she goes to the feds with this, and Bill Clinton is in office after. So there's this kind of unsaid but said, like, how are you, the most important person in the nation, not informed that there's at least some sort of investigation? So this is in the 90s. He was president from 93 to 2001. So there's this like not said, but said of, are we really to believe? Yes, you hung out with him before 2008, before we could Google his name. So you don't have the same problem that a lot of these other people in the emails have, which is like, how did you not Google this guy? But there was a report to the FBI and you're not informed of it. He's allowed into the White House 17 different times. Mm-hmm. You know, you still connect with him afterwards. Like, really? Nothing? We don't know anything? And CCM is, that's not even like a, ooh, white collar crime, because that's like everybody associates with people with white collar crimes these days. But side note, Maria Farmer has also claimed that she saw Trump visiting Epstein's offices in 1995, and that Trump allegedly came into the office, hovered over her, stared at her bare legs, and that Epstein walked in and said, no, she's not here for you. And as the two men walked out, she alleges that she could hear Trump commenting that he thought she was 16 years old.
And I immediately was like, that's Donald Trump. What's he doing here? And just stood over me in a very imposing way and looked at me like he was in on some secret or something. It was really weird, like smirking, kind of. But he made a joke to Epstein, oh, I thought she was 16.
So the connotation being there that he was okay with that. The White House has, to nobody's surprise, denied such an account of events. And obviously none of us were there with Maria. We do not know the truth, though. You know, I'm sure everyone has personal opinions on what they think the truth is, and we are entitled to our personal opinions. But she claimed that while she was being abused by Epstein, she saw Bill Clinton come to his house on 3 to 4 different occasions.
That's it. That's all she said.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on. That would mean that Clinton had gone to Epstein's house, if Maria Farmer's account is valid, while he was the sitting president. And that changes everything again. That would be really bad. Bill Clinton is adamant he only met Epstein when he was coming out of office, starting his foundation, and Larry Summers introduced them. He's asked, Maria Farmer was employed by Jeffrey Epstein and abused by him for a number of years, and she first reported her abuse to the NYPD and FBI in 1996. She states that she has personal knowledge that you visited Jeffrey Epstein's house 3 to 4 times while you were the sitting president between 1995 and 1996. So let me ask you, Mr. President, did you visit Jeffrey Epstein's house while you were president?
I do not remember doing that. I do not believe I did.
How do you explain this discrepancy?
Objection calls for him to speculate.
I can't speculate. But all I can tell you is I don't remember being there.
Okay.
During your presidency, were you ever made aware of the information that Maria Farmer provided to the FBI in 1996?
No, and no.
During the deposition, Virginia Giuffre is brought up. She has stated numerous times in sworn statements that she recalls Bill Clinton being on the island. And her diary reads, quote, Bill Clinton met 2 times, island, with 2 girls, CT, GM, and JE.
Whoa.
So CT, I don't know, GM could be Ghislaine Maxwell, and JE could be Jeffrey Epstein, right?
What is your reaction to that?
It's not true.
Bill Clinton starts getting a little combative,
Did she say that in her book?
This is from her personal diary that her family shared with us.
But the book came out more recently. Did she say that in the book?
I'm just reading you the entry from her diary that her family shared with me.
I think she ultimately reached a different conclusion, although I had no contact with her.
And a lot of people had side-eye to that. Like, why is he so adamant of if she said that in the book? It's almost like he made sure there was nothing in the book about him. And then he says, I think she ultimately reached a different conclusion, although I had no contact with her.
Oh, yeah, that's weird.
And Virginia Giuffre is now deceased in a self-exit. So there are just lots of feelings that people had about this question. Well, I just want to make sure that it's on the record. That's what the representative is saying. Now, remember how Virginia Giuffre alleged that Bill Clinton told Vanity Fair not to write articles about his good friend Jeffrey Epstein? He's asked if that happened. Like, we covered this back in the recent Epstein videos that I did a few months back. So she was saying that she was scared, Bill Clinton was going into a Vanity Fair saying, like, you're not going to cover my friend. And he's asked if that happened, and he responds, no.
Not no, hell no. Not close, no.
But according to emails, Ghislaine Maxwell and a Clinton aide talking points on how to respond to a Vanity Fair reporter who was writing a profile on Epstein. So that doesn't mean that Bill Clinton did or did not, but it was a topic of conversation. So either Bill Clinton really was not involved, but people on his side were preparing a statement to give to Vanity Fair because they always ask for comment, or they were involved. It's unclear. But he's saying in the deposition under oath that he did not. Did you know one of the witnesses who testified in the Epstein cases that Epstein said you, Bill Clinton, you quote, like them young? Why would Epstein say that about you? His lawyer steps in. Are you asking him a question? Are you asking his opinion? You want him to try and be in Mr. Epstein's mind and guess at what Mr. Epstein would have thought about?
First of all, that's not true.
What's not true?
That I have any interest in underage.
I didn't say underage, I said young.
But it's still not true.
Is an intern young?
So here comes Monica Lewinsky.
Whoa.
Yes.
Okay.
At my age, anybody younger than I am.
Did you know Jeffrey Epstein instructed a witness to deny you were ever on his island?
He didn't have to, since I was never there.
During Ghislaine Maxwell's previous interview with the DOJ last year, Ghislaine Maxwell states that she had a very central role in the Clinton Global Initiative. And it doesn't seem like she's just making this up out of her butt, okay? It's been revealed that in the files, Ghislaine was even taking part in budget discussions, which, side note, so many depositions happening in the month of February and March. February 9th, 2026, Ghislaine Maxwell is deposed. Another deposition, House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. They depose her, closed door deposition. The video goes live. Okay. The video goes up. You're like, what? It's a closed door deposition. What do you mean? Okay. So the main questions the committee wanted to ask were Ghislaine Maxwell previously claimed that there were 4 named co-conspirators. Who were the 4 named co-conspirators? 25 men who were not indicted. Who are they? Why were they never charged? Her documented social relationship with Trump and Epstein, including whether access to underage girls was ever facilitated. They wanted to ask whether discussions occurred about a pardon or sentence reduction after Trump publicly stated that he would look at a pardon. What client lists exist documenting Epstein's associates, and whether Epstein shared information with or acted on behalf of foreign government and intelligence services. That was the plan. That's the questions that they're going in trying to ask. Ghislaine Maxwell, we have a video of this, is sitting there with big old goofy glasses on her head. Okay, she looks crazy. And she just responds to everything. I would like to answer your question. Then do it. But she doesn't.
But on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions. My habeas petition is pending in the Southern District of New York. I therefore invoke my right to silence under the 5th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
She wouldn't even respond if she was a close friend of Epstein's, which she previously denied, but, you know. And she's asked, Miss Maxwell, is it your intention to answer every question put to you by the committee today with the assertion of your 5th Amendment right against self-incrimination?
I invoke my 5th Amendment right to silence.
That video of the deposition has since been released because she literally said nothing, and the American people should probably see her evade all these questions. And all of that appears, this whole thing is like a bid for a presidential pardon. Even before the questions start, Maxwell's attorney states outright,
if this committee and the American public truly want to hear the unfiltered truth about what happened, there is a straightforward path. Ms. Maxwell is prepared to speak fully and honestly if granted clemency by President Trump. Only she can provide a complete account, and some may not like what they hear, but the truth matters. For example, both President Trump and President Clinton are innocent of any wrongdoing. Ms. Maxwell alone can explain why, and the public is entitled to hear that explanation. Thank you, members of the committee, for having us today. Ms. Maxwell can now proceed to answer her questions with the 5th Amendment. Thank you.
Which a lot of people are upset by. A representative, Jamie Raskin for Maryland, has since been very public about this, criticizing the DOJ, stating,
No, I think that the Department of Justice has been in a cover-up mode for many months and has been trying to sweep the entire thing under the rug. There's no way you run a $1 billion international child sex trafficking ring with just 2 people committing crimes.
Interestingly, though, the video of the deposition has elicited a very different kind of response. Of course, outrage that she's not answering any of the questions, but also conspiracies that this is not Ghislaine Maxwell, that she's been replaced.
What?
Comments are reading, clearly not Ghislaine Maxwell. Wow, corruption is so smart. Is that her? That looks like somebody else, completely different.
What's the problem? She looks different?
Yeah. It could be the wonky glasses. It could be the video. It looks like a webcam. It could be that she's not Ghislaine Maxwell. I don't know.
Okay.
But it does sound like her, but I don't know. Some are saying she doesn't sound like her either. The imposter should be found and prosecuted if this is a phony, this is a trial. Like, there's a lot of thoughts in the comments. But according to the Clintons, the main reason that the Clintons continued to associate with Ghislaine was mainly because Ghislaine Maxwell was involved with two key people that were part of the Clintons' lives. Doug Band. This was, at the time, Bill Clinton's top aide. As evidenced by emails that Doug Band had with Ghislaine Maxwell, there was something going on. I don't know what it was, but it was something. She writes to him, "Boo-boo, are you around? I am very ill and require immediate medical attention. I am suffering from boo-boo-titis." Yeah. No, I hate her. A very serious condition. Without a boo-boo fix, the symptoms become pronounced. Feeling is mutual, Doug Band responds. My boo-boo-titis is also reaching epic proportions. Lots going on, but we'll be in boo-booville the second you arrive. Then another one sent by Ghislaine Maxwell. Cries into the night that sound like Shakespeare's sonnets that sound like this. Oh, Douglas, wherefore art thou, Douglas? Doug Band states that he never had any physical relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell and that she is a monster. That's not what you said when you went to Boo Booville, though. But he says there was absolutely no physical relationship that occurred between us ever. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just flirting over emails, but he is being called to testify before the House Oversight Committee, so we shall see. They were close enough that Ghislaine, according to the emails, tried to arrange and did purchase Doug Band a $35,000 AP watch for his birthday with Epstein. And she was asking Epstein, like, who should I say it's from, me or you? And he said, from us.
Wow.
Yeah, and I will say, side note, Doug Band had quite the bitter, contentious parting with the Clintons. That's like kind of for another time, but not really. So Doug Band was saying that Bill Clinton was driven nuts by Obama and that Hillary was bitter that she was not the president and that the Clintons consciously or unconsciously may not have wanted Hillary to win, which are very wild things to say. The Clintons and even Obama had refuted much of that sentiment. Hillary allegedly felt like Doug Band was enabling Bill Clinton's behavior, to which Doug Band is like, the idea that anyone can control a person, especially a former president of the United States, is completely ridiculous. But later, another friend of the Clintons said, the problem was Doug Band's ego. Quote, you had to kiss Doug Band's ass to get anywhere. I mean, it was like Doug Band began to think that he was Bill Clinton. Also, apparently, Doug Band and Chelsea Clinton, the Clintons' daughter, had a long-standing rivalry, with sources saying that Chelsea was upset because Bill Clinton saw Doug Band as his son. And later, in a scathing internal email, Doug Band wrote that Chelsea is acting like a, quote, spoiled brat kid who has nothing else to do but create issues to justify what she's doing because she, as she has said, hasn't found her way and has a lack of focus in her life. Bill Clinton says after Doug Band, Ghislaine Maxwell was in a relationship with Ted Waite, who is a billionaire that co-founded Gateway. And the Clintons are very close with Ted Waite. He's a huge, huge donor of the Clinton Foundation. I mean, that's the only reason that Ghislaine Maxwell came to their daughter's wedding, Chelsea Clinton's wedding, was because Ted Waite was invited and Ghislaine Maxwell was his plus one. That makes sense a little bit, but still, I don't know. If you are a former president, I'm sure you vet that list, that guest list, up and down for anything. You have a DUI. That's heinous, by the way. You're out. You have petty theft. You're out. Like anything? No? This is, way later. But Ghislaine, in her interview last year, said that she probably saw Bill Clinton probably around 2016. They had a dinner together. He confirms that it's been about a decade. And just like what Ghislaine Maxwell said about Prince Andrew, former Prince Andrew, she is insistent that Bill Clinton was her friend and not Epstein's friend. But Bill Clinton is like, none of us were friends. I don't know what anybody's talking about.
Oh, man.
We were friendly, but I didn't know him well enough to be saying we were friends.
But here's also another thing that's interesting. I just noticed, and this could be me reading way too much into it, but Bill Clinton, when he talks about Epstein, there's a lot of condemning happening. But when he talks about Maxwell, it's almost passive condemning. It's just something that I noticed, and it's a feeling that I have. He'll say things like,
we did not know when Epstein was arrested that she was still involved with him. I think that clears a lot of this up. We didn't know. I'm sorry for what she did and what she allowed her life to become, and now she's living with it.
It's not a strong condemning of like, her. Yeah. Can't believe she did that. She deserves to rot in hell.
Exactly. Disgusting.
Yeah, which is weird. Then they bring up the birthday note, okay? They bring up Bill Clinton's birthday note for Epstein's 50th birthday. Why are we wishing traffickers a happy birthday? Okay, traffickers should not even get another birthday. But Bill Clinton is asked, why did you write this letter?
Why did I? Because I was requested to contribute a nice letter for his birthday book. It's reassuring, isn't it, to have lasted so long across all the years of learning and knowing, adventures and errors, and still to have your childlike curiosity, the drive to make a difference, and the solace of friends.
He leans back, crosses his arms, and smiles.
Not a bad letter.
The birthday note shows, states knowing adventures and errors. He's asked, for the record, you weren't referring to errors in judgment that Mr. Epstein had related to his inappropriate activities involving young.
Absolutely not. I knew nothing about that.
So he's just saying that it's just a shitty coincidence of word usage. There's a few more notes that Bill Clinton allegedly wrote to Epstein that he's asked about, which I will say, this is why it's so frustrating. Certain questions have a lot of high value. This birthday note probably has a little bit more high value of those are words that the American citizens were like, now why would you write that? Mm-hmm. Why would you write that? So that's a good question. But then they start bringing up some dumb notes, which I'm like, now you're making this whole thing seem dumb, okay? Which apparently Bill Clinton wrote a get well soon note to Epstein's mom on a Post-it. Not even like a fancy papyrus card that you have to pay $6 for. A Post-it. Epstein saved the Post-it. Bill Clinton is asked and he says, it looks like my handwriting, but I don't recall. But I will tell you this.
I have written get well notes to lots of people I did not know and had never met.
And you're like, yeah, as the former president, I'm sure you're writing a bunch of bullshit to people that you don't necessarily care about. One of the notes that Bill Clinton also wrote to Epstein, he kept on his plane, and it reads along the lines of thanks for inviting me and letting me invade your private space. I'm exhausted and glad to get away from the crowd, and we will forge ahead. I'll finally figure out the financial stuff. Which all of it does seem on par with what Bill Clinton has been saying of we were just going around for philanthropic efforts. So it's when they bring these up, now it seems okay, what's happening? But you can tell where there are just certain topics where Bill Clinton and his lawyers, they don't seem to like to talk about it. And those notes are not one of those topics. However, the painting of Bill Clinton wearing what could be presumed as Monica Lewinsky's dress and sitting on the chair with his legs draped over, they give him a picture of that. So, Mr. President, we are looking at an image of you, a portrait that looks to be of you, Mr. President, in this blue dress. Can you describe this painting? His lawyer interjects. He doesn't need to describe the painting. You just gave him a picture. What's your question? Do you understand why someone would paint this? Objection, this calls for speculation. You can ask the artist. But Bill Clinton responds.
If I had known Jeffrey Epstein had this painting, it would have saved me this whole day.
Saying if he knew Epstein had this painting, he would have never associated with Epstein, and then he wouldn't be deposed right now. There are no emails suggesting that Bill Clinton ever visited the island, though we have late Virginia Giuffre's allegation that he was on the island. The Secret Service has indicated that they had not been to the island, and Bill Clinton does state that he has never signed off on Secret Service. So meaning that you would have to sign off of I don't want Secret Service protecting me right now. So that would be the only time that he would potentially go to the island. Without Secret Service, and he has no record of signing off on Secret Service.
I see.
But he does admit that he did make a brief visit to Epstein's Manhattan townhouse, but he does not recall if Epstein was even there at the time, which is kind of crazy how you don't recall that. Are you just visiting people's empty homes without the homeowner there? It's kind of odd. You would know that. I think he was trying to phrase it as I was walking with my friend, and they were Epstein, he lives right down there, and he's so proud of his house, which is this elementary school that's been converted. So we should go. We should just stop by and say hi because he's a donor. He would love that, blah, blah, blah. They walk in. He's making it seem like we were asking is Mr. Epstein home?
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. But he doesn't remember. Okay, but again, Maria Farmer was like, pretty sure I saw him in the house when he was a sitting president. So I don't know. I wasn't in the house. I don't know anything. But remember Epstein, he loved in his Manhattan townhouse, apparently to display pictures of young girls, young nude girls.
Yes.
Bill Clinton says he never saw anything like that. He says that he also never saw any staff members that were young girls inside the house.
Well.
During your relationship or the time that you knew Mr. Epstein, what did you understand his job to be? I'm not sure I knew. It was never clear to me, but he could have been living on, investing the profits that he's already made. I knew he was this finance guy.
I'm not sure I knew. It was never clear to me, but he could have been living on investing the profits he'd already made. I knew he was his finance guy.
I would just like to ask you directly, do you believe that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself? The lawyer jumps in. Are you asking him to speculate on how Mr. Epstein died?
Do you believe that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself?
Are you asking him to speculate on how Mr. Epstein died?
I'm asking what the president thinks of...
So you're asking his opinion?
Mr. President, was your friend Jeffrey Epstein suicidal?
Are you classifying him as a friend who he has testified that he was friendly?
He has called him a friend in a letter.
He said he was friendly, but not. You've asked for his testimony.
Mr. President,
I mean, she's sharp. Okay, she's doing her job well, but it is kind of crazy.
Do you believe that Jeffrey Epstein was suicidal?
Do you know?
Was he ever suicidal?
To the best of your understanding.
I don't know. I only know what the medical finding was. I think maybe he finally got caught. And I don't know. I've accepted it in my own mind. I don't know what happened.
Mr. President, what did you accept, that he self-exited or that he did not? That he did, but I don't know. None of us know. We weren't there. Then Mark Middleton is brought up. The House committee states in the deposition and asks Bill Clinton, Mark Middleton was found dead at Hefner Ranch, approximately 30 miles from his home in Little Rock. He was discovered hanging from a tree by an extension cord around his neck with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to his chest. So he was shot and on a rope. Do you have any information that leads you to suspect that he did something other than self-exit? No. Do you have any concerns that this was in relation to his knowledge or relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, given the date? I'm asking, when you heard about this death, knowing about the things that have, at this point, it's all over the news, seeing that he is self-exited, have you ever had any conversations with people about whether or not there's any relationship between the two?
Oh, no. No one's ever suggested it to me.
Okay. Thank you. I yield back. Next up, Mr.
It's really sad.
And this deposition has mixed feelings. A lot of people are, again, understandably so, it's become very political. It's kind of gotten annoying, I will say, where political in the sense of there are some people who are like, well, it's not Bill Clinton because Trump is deflecting, or it's, oh, look, Trump is finally going after these people because he's innocent. And it's like, let's just maybe not make it about politics and absolve people of guilt just based on their political alliance, because that's just not how it works. So I will say those types of sentiments have gotten annoying. But some people think that this, quote, this was such a waste of time and a joke because he was never going to answer anything honestly. Others are commenting, if there was any substance to Clinton's involvement, you know damn well Trump would have thrown him under the bus and made it back up too. Anything to keep the lights off of his ass. Others are saying this is obviously political persecution by someone who himself is mentioned in the files a million times. Other people are saying he's a piece of shit when it comes to women and an absolute womanizer, but that doesn't inherently mean that he's into kids. Very possible to be one type and not the other. I don't think that this is as cut and dry with him as it is with someone like Trump. To which someone else comments, who fucking cares? Put them both in jail. Some netizens are actually frustrated with the questions being asked. Quote, these people are amateurs at best. A rock could have formed better questions. Another quote, corruption. These questions were carefully fabricated, mostly opinions and speculations. Seems like both sides are in bed with each other. If he goes down, so does everybody else who's included in that list. Another one reads, you'd think someone in this room would be capable of reading a clear and complete sentence out loud. Absolute incompetence. But here's the part that I can't get over. It's like everybody has their political alliance and they're gonna feel one type of way. And we could go all day, like Hillary Clinton said, until the cows come home, going back and forth of, well, maybe he's bad, but your guy is badder. Or like, maybe they're both bad, but your guy first. Like we could do this all day and nothing will ever happen. However, this is the most enlightening part to me and to a lot of people. A Democratic representative takes over questioning and they open with,
It is well understood that you had a personal relationship with Mr. Epstein, and we will talk about that today, but the events I just described color our perspective on the conversation. It appears as if you and other Democratic figures have been targeted by President Donald Trump in an attempt to distract the American people from his own long-standing relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And if that were true, it would not be the first time that President Trump has targeted his political enemies under the guise of law enforcement. This deposition is occurring in the context of unprecedented weaponization of the Department of Justice by Donald Trump.
Which some people loved, some people hated. Obviously, you know why Republicans would hate that type of conversation. But some Democrats were really opposed to sentiments like this, saying, yes, the urgency is far greater and higher when there are questions about trafficking for the sitting president of the United States. But they're saying, like, we don't think Bill Clinton is, like, off the hook either. So, like, we don't have to put him up on a pedestal. Like, he's definitely done nothing wrong. Just to push, you know, they're saying it's kind of like... Yeah. However, I will say most Democrats are really happy that the Clintons were deposed and that they testified. And they did not look for loopholes. I'm sure they did. But they didn't find a successful loophole to not be deposed because they have now set the Clinton rule that even presidents can be deposed if subpoenaed.
I see.
So who's next? You know, obviously everybody wants it to be Trump. This is the startling part. Bill Clinton is interestingly asked, so to get more information for this investigation was, you know, wondering if you also agree that President Trump should answer questions of this committee.
We believe in the minority that President Trump should also answer this committee's questions. He's someone that is mentioned almost more than any other person beside Ghislaine Maxwell in the Epstein documents. And so to get more information for this investigation, was wondering if you also agree that President Trump should answer questions of this committee.
That's for you to decide. But he didn't know him well, you know, and I once had a brief discussion.
He didn't know him well. Trump didn't know Epstein well.
And
said by Bill.
Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
That's for you to decide, but he didn't know him well, and I once had a brief discussion with him about it. I hate this, but because I don't believe I should inject anything. But I do not want to leave the impression. The president never, this is 20-something years ago, never said anything to me to make me think he was involved in anything improper with regard to Epstein either. He just didn't. He just said we were friends, and then we had a falling out over a land deal.
Could I ask very briefly, Mr. President, if you recall what were the circumstances of that conversation, or at least let's start with when did that conversation occur? He says that Trump told him this on a golf course decades ago, saying something along the lines of like...
Somehow knew I had flown in Jeffrey Epstein's aircraft, and he said, you know, we had some great times together over the years, but we fell out, all because of a real estate deal.
He says he doesn't recall who brought it up in the conversation first on the golf course, if it was him or Trump. He can't imagine it was him because he, you know, would never do something like that. Do you recall whether President Trump elaborated at all on the great times that he had with Jeffrey Epstein? No. And I took, you know, at the time, I didn't put any sexual stint to it.
I didn't put any sexual stint on it.
He later reiterates once more.
The only conversation I had with President Trump about this was in the early 2000s. And I have no information that he did anything wrong. I just want it all out there. I want everybody to get it all out there and let everybody see where we are.
Which a lot of people feel like this is straight out of a mutual destruction playbook. The way that Bill Clinton talks about Ghislaine Maxwell and Trump, the way that Ghislaine Maxwell talks about Bill Clinton and Trump, everybody is like they're playing games right in front of our faces. That's the feeling. A lot of people think it's because both men are guilty, but only one of them is in office right now. That's why maybe Clinton is being nicer to Trump than Trump is being nice to Clinton about the files. But it seems like both of them, neither Clinton nor Trump, have had any scathing words for Ghislaine Maxwell, even though both of them have a hatred for trafficking and traffickers, right? And also, why is Bill Clinton going out of his way to tell everybody that Trump is innocent? The same Trump that made Hillary Clinton's life so unbearable for so long, too. Mm-hmm. This is not like, oh, we're mutuals. Oh, we're part of the same party. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Depending on who you ask, public opinion will be, oh, because Bill Clinton's guilty. or because they both are. With that being said, there's a lot on Trump. In July and August of 2025, the FBI internally circulated Epstein-related allegations that mentioned Trump. There are a lot of crazy, salacious allegations, by the way, and I think that this is where the conspiracies of their eating babies stems from because of this internal document. Now, this internal document, people have been kind of recklessly, and this is not in defense of the administration, okay? People are presenting this as these are valid FBI internal documents of crimes that have been committed. That's not what this is. The FBI decided that they were going to compile a document of anybody who's even called in to give an allegation regarding Epstein and Trump. So they compiled this entire document, and on one side, they list what the phone call detailed, or the tip detailed, or the allegation detailed. And then in the middle, they detailed whether they were able to contact the person again to further interview them, whether they found corroborating evidence, or whether they found no evidence or proof that this was a lie. And then oddly, the third little box they have on the right side was any criminal history that this person has, the one giving the allegation.
Was this leaked?
It was in the Epstein files dump.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is important to note that most media outlets have reported, even, places like the New York Times have reported that it seems that the FBI was not able to verify most of the allegations and that they deemed it to be unverifiable or not credible. But I'm just going to tell you what it is. There could be some things in here that are true. There could be nothing in here that's true. All of it could be true. But just because it's in an internal document does not mean that we can believe everything. So one complaint summary on the internal note reads, caller named other individual named in a big orgy party with her, other young girls and older VS models, Victoria's Secret models, including Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. So now this is saying that they were all in some sort of
big orgy party.
Yeah, which, a lot of people have gone down with more memes of Big Beautiful Bill. Complainant reported participating in orgies and that some girls went missing, rumored to have been murdered and buried at a golf course. Complainant reported being threatened by Trump's then head of security that if she ever talked about what she saw or what happened, she would, quote, end up as fertilizer for the back 9 holes like the other cunts. She claims that she saw cartels involved in the parties and that she watched Robin Leach, who I believe is a reporter, strangle a young girl to death at a party. The FBI note deems her claims to not be credible. Complainant was spoken to and deemed not credible. Additional research showed 3 separate incidents involving police which requested in mandatory psychiatric evaluations. That's the internal note. I do believe that's where a lot of the baby sacrifices and consumption and conspiracies, they all start stemming from here. Then another one, complainant reported Donald Trump participated regularly in paying money to force her to perform acts with him and alleged Trump was present when her uncle murdered her newborn child. Conclusion of the FBI was, quote, no contact made. Another caller believes that the FBI has pictures of her as a baby with Epstein. But the note that the agents made was, no contact made. Previous tips indicated she had called in and said she had chemically induced amnesia and struggled with knowing what was a dream and what was reality. I mean, I do hope that the FBI did way more internally for gathering whether this is credible or not than just, oh, she has chemically induced amnesia, because both things could be true, but we don't know. These are just internal notes. Another complainant tells the FBI, and this is from the internal note again, not stated as fact, Donald Trump, the president, had parties at Mar-a-Lago called Calendar Girls. Jeffrey Epstein would bring the children in and Trump would auction them off. He measured the children's private parts by entering digits and rated private parts. The guests were elder men and included Elon Musk, Don Jr. Trump, Ivanka Trump, and Eric Trump were all there. Attorney Alan Dershowitz was also there with attorney Bob Shapiro. We were taken in rooms, forced to have with Donald J. Trump, forced to allow them to assault. I was 13 years old when Donald J. Trump R-worded me. Ghislaine Maxwell was also present. The FBI notes, no contact information provided. So this could just be like a call-in tip and then hang up. So this could be true, right? It's a wild claim, right? I'm not saying that any of these people are absolved of any guilt, and I don't think that they're guilty or anything, but this is a very insane claim, okay? To have parties.
Wouldn't it be so easy for them to find their contact, though?
Yeah.
It's FBI,
But, I mean, the way that they're running it right now, I don't know if they're Yeah, but no contact information was provided. So maybe the FBI also deems maybe there's some sort of statistic if you don't leave your contact information. It could be the same as prank calling. I don't know how they see it. I don't know how they rate it.
It's so interesting. Like you can just call them and leave a tip. I imagine if you call police and say something really scary, the police would be like, oh shit, we got to investigate. We got to call them. We got to figure it out. They don't just stop by, oh, they didn't tell me their address.
Yeah.
They're going to find out your name, your address, and they're going to come to you.
And then probably arrest you. The note further reads, no contact information provided. So they just move on. Okay, this is where it starts getting weird. I think up until this point, no one really believes any of the previous allegations, or it would just be so crazy. And if it's true, I don't even know what the implications of something like that would be just on a global scale of like, these are like conspiracy theories that we never thought were going to be true and then they become true. I don't know how that would even impact anything. Like it would be crazy. But these are ones that netizens are taking more seriously. Again, these are unverified allegations. Caller reported that in 1987, a friend, victim 1, was out drinking and ended up at Trump Plaza. Victim 1 saw Donald Trump and wanted to meet him. An unknown man approached her and offered to introduce her to Trump. The unknown man gave Victim 1 a drink, and Victim 1 woke up naked and sore in bed with $300 on the bed. Victim 1 didn't remember how she got to the room. She remembered seeing a flash of Trump's face. Victim 1 called the caller and was like, I think that I've been R-worded. Victim 1 did not go to the hospital to have an R-word kit performed because she didn't think that anyone would believe her, especially because she was drunk. They later state that Victim 1 had a husband whose business had problems with suppliers, and Victim 1 believed Trump was behind it. Victim 1 also started dating a lawyer, identity is unknown, who was married. Victim 1 had a fight with her lawyer boyfriend and went to a bar. Victim 1 left a bar with a man who no one in the bar recognized, but who seemed familiar with Victim 1. Victim 1 was never seen again. A few years later, remains were discovered that matched the description of what Victim 1 was wearing when she went missing. DNA tests at the time were inconclusive. The FBI notes, no contact made, victim identified as deceased, and complainant do not have confirmed information. But worse than that, so this is released, and it's bad because, we don't know how the FBI unconfirmed, said that these are uncredible accounts, how they were able to say that these are not real. We don't know. It just says unconfirmed. It doesn't say anything specific. So we don't know if it's really unconfirmed, if they were able to follow through with the steps, or they're just like, they didn't leave contact information, so automatically unconfirmed. They have a history of psychiatric evaluations, automatically unconfirmed, unverified. We don't know. So obviously this causes quite a bit of stir. And then of course there's people going online saying this is confirmed. This is what happened. They're eating babies. And then that's caused a whole different situation of itself. However, this next part is the real problem. NPR publishes an article alleging that the DOJ has redacted 50-something pages. And a House Oversight Committee ranking member, Representative Robert Garcia, states, yesterday, I reviewed those pages. I reviewed unredacted evidence logs that the DOJ oversight Democrats can confirm that the DOJ appears to have illegally withheld FBI interviews with a survivor who accused President Trump of heinous crimes. The White House response to this NPR article was in short, just as President Trump has said, he's been totally exonerated on anything related to Epstein. President Trump has done more for Epstein victims than anyone else before him. But the file is bad. So this is from July 8th, 2019, before Epstein dies in prison, a month before. And it's an FBI file. It's an FBI internal document where they're interviewing someone. At 1:43 p.m. Eastern Time, blank, redacted, contacted the FBI National Threat Operations Center to report an unidentified friend who may have been abused by Jeffrey Epstein in an unknown manner. Redacted states that she was recently informed by an unidentified female friend currently residing in Portland, Oregon, that she was forced to perform oral sex on President Trump approximately 35 years ago in the state of New Jersey. Redacted friend stated that she was approximately 13 to 14 years of age when this occurred. The friend allegedly bit President Trump while performing oral and described his, quote, heavy breathing. The friend was allegedly hit in the face after she laughed about biting him. The FBI bring in the protected individual and she has a sit-down interview with them. Now, again, just because the FBI interviews someone does not mean that their allegations are true. But what a lot of people feel is to have that interview seems like you kind of already feel or suspect or think She states that Epstein blackmailed her mom as well, that Epstein had unclothed photos of her and blackmailed her mom, and she had to, her mom, so this is what the victim is saying, like, Epstein was crazy, he was blackmailing me, he blackmailed my mom, and my mom had to embezzle money from the real estate company that she works for.
Wait, this is the same person, the 13, 14-year-old?
Yes. I mean, she's much older now, but yeah. And she had to pay him to not release these photos. Later in the interview, it's noted that she recalled at least one incident in which he either drove or flew her to New Jersey or New York, and she was, quote, introduced to someone with money. It was Donald Trump. She later states he had money, it reeked off of him. She alleges that she could tell from the get-go that Trump did not like her because she dressed like a tomboy. She claims that Trump later asked everyone to leave the room and told her allegedly, quote, let me teach you how little girls are supposed to be. Then she alleges that he unzipped his pants and pushed her head down and she, quote, bit the shit out of it. The report then reads, Trump struck redacted victim and said words to the effect of, get this little bitch the hell out of here. Redacted advised she bit Trump because she was disgusted. The FBI report reads, Redacted got the feeling the relationship between Epstein and Trump included a certain amount of jealousy. She thought Trump appeared jealous of Epstein, but at some point they ended up on level playing fields. Trump and Epstein sometimes use the terms fresh meat, untainted, and not jaded while referring to girls. At the time she heard it, Redacted did not understand the term not jaded. She subsequently looked up the word jaded. Redacted states she had 2 additional interactions with Trump, but she asked for the interview to move on to a different subject for the time being.
What is unjaded?
Jaded is like, this is, okay, in this context, a lot of PDF files will say that they like young kids because they're so amused and not jaded by the world. And, you know, as people get older, as women get older, you realize that not a lot of men out there are good men and they can abuse you and maybe, you know, vice versa. But it's just used in that very sick way.
I see.
Yeah. Later, she states that after she bit him, the note reads, quote, she provided further details that he pulled her hair and punched her on the side of the head. She also alleges, per the FBI report, that, quote, Epstein liked having little rubber things put into his anus so that he had her do it, such as a pencil, a big eraser, little rubber things, a water bottle, all inserted down there into Epstein, and that instead of using lubricant, he preferred kitchen oil. Now, this interview is back from 2019, before the allegations and rumors that Epstein is part of Mossad, Israel's intelligence agency. Like, that was not a big thing back in the day in 2019. But she states to the FBI that she frequently heard Epstein speak in Hebrew around her. But just because you speak Hebrew does not mean that you work for Mossad. But a lot of people have been focusing on that as like, he worked for the Mossad. Now, the report continues. Epstein talked about blackmailing people in front of Redacted. Redacted was confident Trump knew Epstein blackmailed people because she heard Epstein and Trump talking about it. Redacted stated she knew Trump had illegal building permits. She heard Trump talking about washing money through casinos. Number 6 is Donald Trump's favorite number. Redacted was not sure how she knew that, but she had heard it at one point. One part of the FBI interview note reads, Redacted asked the agents to keep her safe, stating, throughout my life, Epstein's people have found me, have kept tabs on me, which Virginia Giuffre has also felt and expressed in her book before her passing. As of right now, these have not been proven to be credible allegations, which does not mean that they're not true. I would have no such information of that. However, one interesting thing to note again is that the FBI interviews this specific individual like 3 times. Which feels as if they're taking it very, very seriously. Then, according to NPR, it doesn't really go anywhere because apparently someone in the FBI writes, one identified victim claimed abuse by Trump but ultimately refused to cooperate. So now the question with a lot of people is, did the investigation go nowhere because the allegations are untrue or because this victim does not want to cooperate? And that's why it led nowhere. Or it could be both, right? It could be untrue and she doesn't want to cooperate because they're untrue, right? We don't know. There's also a second accuser. And side note, I'm sure if you watch a lot of videos or you consume a lot of articles about the whole Epstein situation, accuser is technically how they're formally identified in a lot of reports and even reporting. But I feel like that word always has a negative connotation, but it's just best for legal purposes. But a second accuser has 6 interviews with the FBI, and she claims that when she was around 13 years old, Epstein took her to Mar-a-Lago to meet with Trump, and that Epstein apparently told Trump, this is a good one, huh? She claims that both the men chuckled and she felt uncomfortable, but at the time she was too young to understand why. So there's a lot in the second accuser's interview that sounds very reminiscent of all the other accusers' accounts of abuse, which has led netizens to believing, in their personal opinions, that this may be true. The weird part about this is that these are not included in the dump. These 16-something pages come days, weeks later because of this NPR expose.
Oh, like a separate drop.
Yes. This was not in the 3 million pages drop. So everyone's like, why did you not just drop it with the 3 million pages? In fact, if you dropped it with the 3 million pages, it probably would have taken a lot of people, we would have to dig for it.
Right.
But then people found out that because they found out through the way that the files were named and numbered. Oh. So there was a big chunk missing. So they're like, what's the chunk?
So NPR exposed it.
Then the House committee representatives went into the unredacted file computer that they have access to, and they're like, I found the files. These are what they say. Mm-hmm. And then the DOJ was like, fine, I'll release them.
How did NPR get it?
Yeah.
From some inside source?
No, so they were going through the metadata of files. So they're like, something is this is weird.
Oh.
I'm sure they have probably AI and stuff to comb through massive amounts of metadata.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, so the DOJ, though, claims that the only reason that happened was the file was temporarily removed because it was flagged by a victim or their counsel for additional review, which a lot of people don't believe because they're releasing all sorts of crazy things. Caroline Levitt has stated, these are completely baseless accusations backed by zero credible evidence from a sadly disturbed woman who has an extensive criminal history. The total baselessness of these accusations is also supported by the obvious fact that Joe Biden's Department of Justice knew about them for 4 years and did nothing with them because they knew President Trump did absolutely nothing wrong. As we have said countless times, President Trump has been totally exonerated by the release of the Epstein files. But the House Oversight Democrats state, let's be clear, this White House cover-up is ongoing. Millions of pages still remain concealed from the public and our committee. So with that is what's going on right now with the Epstein files. Those are the major news headlines in depth. There's just so many more files. And there's a lot of people that we already talked about. New details are coming out. Remember the Goldman Sachs? She's the head of legal, chief legal officer or something for Goldman Sachs. She just recently resigned, Kathy. She also worked with the Obamas. Yeah, she was getting exposed for getting an Hermes bag from Epstein. And there's just so much random small stuff as well. Let me know, what are your thoughts? And we're going to try to give as many updates as possible as time and capacity permits. But lots of people are doing really good reporting on the Epstein files. So what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments and stay safe. I will see you in the next one.